Hi. How's everyone doing? Time has been weird today. It's not real. It can't hurt you. Today felt kind of long. I don't know if you experienced that.
I also agree.
Like, not neutrally. It didn't feel like a bad long, for me at least. It was just kind of long.
Mm-hmm.
I guess probably
It's been the same, like, type of cloudy the whole type of day, so it doesn't feel like the sunlight's varied at all.
Yeah. I've also been up to, like, 50 different things, it feels like.
My day was just really thrown off by events in the office. I didn't take my normal time at the front desk.
Oh.
So I was really just confused because I was just like, what the fuck?
Got so fucked up because I was currently watching The Last one, so your high was scary. There's two of me now.
Two of them.
Watch out. How are we all doing this week?
I'm sleepy.
I'm in a wild place psychologically because I have been playing more Higurashi, and then also I am close to finishing Hatoful Boyfriend, which is... I was saving the routes that I knew were wild for last deliberately, and I've done all of them except the, it's crazy that it's called the BBL ending, but that's what it is called, which is like the final ending of it. So I haven't done that one yet, but I just did Shu Iwamine's endings, and that's the doctor. He's normal.
If you ever want to do so, I know you've been playing a wide variety of games. If you ever want to subject me to them on stream, for in-between stuff, feel free.
Yeah, we're probably gonna do a little bit of a variety pack once we finish like episode 5. Take like about as long as we did last time probably, but instead of just playing through one game, we've been talking about little like shorter 1 to 2 stream games that could be fun to do.
Like some stuff we're thinking of revisiting Portal.
Yeah.
Which will be pretty quick because Portal is not a long game.
Yeah, Portal, if we did both of the Portal games, I think it would be 2 streams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, we could do that. Where we were thinking of revisiting those since that was like the second game series we ever streamed.
Yes.
After 999.
Yes, that's right. She was my friend's favorite route, and she only likes normal characters. Oh, I bet. But yeah, we're talking about Portal. I know you were vaguely thinking... We never landed anywhere with it, but you mentioned Chance of Sonara.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
It would be fun. It would also be good because I would be there to keep you from getting, like, stuck on the... There's a couple of things about that game that I find genuinely kind of frustrating that we can smooth over those parts. Which would be good. But that's a fun, kind of meditative little game. I think it would be fun to... There's a lot of, like, environmental puzzles.
Oh, I love that shit.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. And that's not super long. We would do that in probably 2 or 3 streams. Yeah, we've been talking about a bunch of shit. I know one of our in-betweens is going to be the Zero Time Dilemma spoiler streams. We just have to figure out when the funniest place to put that is. I think it would be great post-7, pre-8.
Oh my god.
Finish episode 7 of Umineko. Zero Time Dilemma. That's our little decompress before 8. I think that would be great.
We'd have to do something else because that won't get us too much of a break.
Wasn't ZTD like 5 streams?
No, it was like 3 or 4.
It was 4. Yeah, but consider that Grace will be there.
True.
Consider that Grace will be there, and when Grace is here, we don't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, we are the fucking yappers.
So Grace might be able to carry us through to like 5 or 6 comfortably.
20 stream.
20 streams, Zero Time Dilemma series.
We get through 2 lines of dialogue.
I don't think... The thing that will save us is that it's cutscene based rather than visual novel based. That's true. Last time I called Grace, because we've been chipping away at Ace Attorney, we broke a new record. We didn't even open Ace Attorney.
Oh my god.
We had a normal length, like, 5-hour call. Josh Adrian chat in the fire scenario. Zero Time to Live a spoiler streams will be very fun.
Put me in the chair, boss.
But yeah, that'll be dependent on Grace being able to get... We have to coordinate scheduling with Grace, because she's got to be on for that, but... That'll be one of our in-betweens. I'm thinking between 7 and 8, and then we can do, like, something else short afterward if we don't feel like we had a sufficient break. But that's the move. So yeah, we've been looking at a lot of, like, short little things, but we could do, like... Beautiful Boyfriend is not that long. It's like... I mean, we would do, like, voicing, which would make it run a little bit longer, but it would be probably, like, a 3-streamer, 4-streamer. Depending how thorough you cared about being.
I definitely want to get the one where I get assassinated by hawks.
That one's pretty easy to get. All you have to do is fumble. Who gets to be Gab in the stream art? We do have to figure out what ZTD stream art's gonna be like. I believe in us.
Grace can be Quark again. We're bringing him in. Imported him.
Transplant. Alright. Shall we... You guys want to play a game?
Well, the thing is that we have a perfect thing from bringing in someone from another timeline.
God. Awful. Awful. Alright. Game audio didn't break. Yippee. Yippee! Sometimes it gets fussy when... Because I started the game before you had plugged your headphones in, and it gets fussy about that sometimes.
Quark exists!
I love the drinks that have the little fruity bobas at the bottom, but they do still sometimes get fully stuck in the straw.
You have to, there's an advanced, like, straw technique you gotta learn.
Clearly. Alright. Let's go.
Woo!
Ding dong.
Bing bong.
I really like this scene that we're starting out with. Excited to be here. The thing about it is that Quark and Maria would hate each other.
Oh my god, they
would hate each other so bad is the thing about it.
they would be fighting.
Yeah. In the Golden Land, the quiet rain just kept on falling. Oh, Grace, you know your new stream art dropped last week.
You know it.
We had a 2-part stream art reveal. It was great. In the arbor sat the sad witch whose eyes had lost their glint, and Battler. Virgilia could also be seen there. She sat next to Beato, knitting quietly. In the rain?
Under the arbor.
Under the arbor, yeah, alright, fair. Lambda Delta's game had passed the climax of the first twilight, and they were taking a short break. Gazing out at the golden rose garden soaked with rain, Battler considered the present, what was to come, and what had happened so far. To Battler, the act of thinking was itself a battle. Even with the game stopped and Beato unable to speak, he could still keep on fighting. Virgilia suddenly stopped her knitting. Battler noticed it too. Because, though none should have been able to visit this rose garden, she had noticed a silhouette approaching.
That's unusual. Not many people are capable of reaching this place.
It's her.
That's a rare battler.
Yeah, he doesn't make that face much.
I brought my gun.
That silhouette, which walked amidst the quiet... That's a tongue twister. Which walked amidst the quietly falling rain without so much as an umbrella, was Dlanor.
That was a spectacular garden maze. A splendid way to enjoy the roses.
Why are you here?
It's been some time, Mrs. Beatrice. No, wait, it's Mrs. Virgilia, is it not? Long time no see, Dlanor. Come over here. We aren't ones to leave a guest out in the rain. Don't worry. She hasn't come to fight.
Do you know her?
She's one of my old friends from heaven. This really takes me back.
You used to be in heaven? I went to college there.
That it does. Mrs. Virgilia possesses a deep knowledge in heavenly studies.
She did go to college there.
She
She went to college there.
She literally went to college in heaven. I have often argued with her over interpretations. My many intellectual adventures with you were quite enjoyable.
I forgot they had this background. This explains something about Golden Fantasia.
Yeah. I'd like to do it again sometime. Yes.
Doesn't explain everything about Golden Fantasia. But it explains one thing.
The Dlanor and Virgilia have a storyline in Golden Fantasia, which...
It's regular.
It ends in a really normal way.
As many of them do.
Yes, let's do it again. Sometime. I'd love to fight with you again.
They used the word fight, but it didn't sound like they meant anything unpleasant by it. It sounded like something old chess rivals would say to each other. Unlike Beato, it seems Virgilia always behaved properly and courteously. So she had many friends in various other worlds, including both heaven and the demon world. You think she's married to Virgil Dante's Inferno and they just do this shit for fun? No one knows who did what there, they just trade it off.
Heaven PhD.
So true. Hi, Nine! Golden Fantasia scares the shit out of me every time I hear anything about that game. It makes me crazy. That's rational. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fighting game person. I'm not particularly good at it. But I have played a lot of Golden Fantasia, and it never gets easier to understand why that game is the way that it is. Shout out to the storyline where they physically cannot stop saying the word MILF. Virgilia fighting with a 14-year-old lawyer. True. So she had many friends in various other worlds, including both heaven and the demon world.
I don't know why my brain was like, Franziska?
Are you saying hello in response to there being a Golden Fantasia storyline where they're always saying MILF? Maybe I haven't spoken about this on stream before. There's a Golden Fantasia storyline where they keep calling Rosa a MILF. And she gets mad. And I'm not paraphrasing. That is the word that they use. Mm-hmm. They say MILF.
I can verify this.
I don't know what they said in Japanese that got translated that way. But they said MILF. Surprisingly, Dlanor was one of them. Dlanor, who had crossed swords with me just a short while ago, ducked her head like someone taking shelter from a sudden rain, and sat in the seat Virgilia pointed out, like a guest.
Is there any type of black tea you would prefer? Anything. Any tea you make is superb. Then how about some Darjeeling? Bachelor, Beto, would you like some more?
Yeah. Beto and I would like a refill. Excuse me. Right? As usual, Beato didn't answer, but if you quietly gave her a cup, she would sip it from time to time. There was still some black tea left in that cup, but it had already chilled, so Battler asked for a refill for Beato as well.
I have heard the rumors. How pitiable that Beatrice, the endless witch famous for her cruelty, has been reduced to this.
She's no longer participating in the game. And the Delta is the one controlling the Beato that's on the game board.
I know. However, she is the original master of this world. And you are the proper guest invited by that master. That is why I've come to pay my respects.
On the game board, Beato and I met Glanor. But those were the game pieces of those witches. They weren't Beato and me ourselves.
Is that why you went out of your way to greet Battler Kun and Beato here? I see you're as conscientious as ever. That is my way of doing things. Greetings, Mr. Battler. I am Dlanor A. Knox. We play opposing roles, but it is a pleasure to meet you.
Sure. I'm Ushinomiya Battler. Pleased to meet you.
Greetings, Miss Beatrice. I am Dlanor A. Knox.
Beato. She's saying hi. She says welcome.
Thank you very much, Miss Beatrice.
The witch and the Inquisitor of Heresy, whose job it was to hunt witches, greeted each other around a tea table surrounded by the aroma of black tea. It was a strange sight. Virgilia made gold butterflies sprout from the palms of her hands, and transformed them into a teapot and a can of tea leaves. It was a very witch-like way to make tea. Of course, she actually was a witch, so that scene wasn't particularly bizarre in itself. Though I was a bit concerned about whether Dlanor, an Inquisitor of Heresy, could watch such a spectacle.
Do not worry. I am not so boorish as to complain about how my tea is served.
Even though the tea's being made with magic?
There is a tea set hiding in the shadows, and Mrs. Virgilia is making us tea with it in secret. We interpret or judge that it was made with magic, and it is written as such in the tale. That interpretation is allowed by Knox's ninth. Oh my! I do believe the interpretation of the ninth is such a delicate problem that it's viewed as taboo, even in the Great Court. Even though it's just a personal opinion, if it became known that the head Inquisitor of Heresy said such a thing, you might be sacked. They're going to give you the pink slip. No matter what interpretation I record it with, there are no lies in the taste of your tea. Therefore, I do not worry about how it was prepared.
Aha! Though she looked cold, she was a surprisingly tactful person. If Dlanor were to deny that the black tea had been prepared with magic, this magic would surely be crushed in an instant. However, the possibility had been presented that a tea set existed and had been used to make the tea normally, so the fact that Virgilia had made tea was, in the end, undisputed.
Magic that hides the result in darkness is evil. I will not permit it. However, magic that enshrouds the process is not necessarily evil. My foe is evil itself, not magic.
Yeah, I really like how this scene characterizes Dlanor and how I was not sure how I felt about her as a concept when she was, like, first introduced. Not that I didn't like the scene that she came in on, but I was like, with her specifically for a moment, I was like, this is a little much. Even for Umineko, I was like, this, okay. But I really like the way that this scene tackles her kind of perspective on her role in the story, and you know, the kind of nuanced relationship between magic and mystery that really won me over on her very quickly.
I see. The important thing is that you're being served some tea, so it's just common courtesy to avoid complaining about how it was made.
That's right. When someone makes tea for you, it's common courtesy to be grateful. There's nothing elegant about pushing your way into the kitchen and criticizing how they brew it.
You don't invite your guests into the kitchen. And when you set the table, you should adorn it beautifully in the spirit of hospitality. Here you go. Careful, it's hot. Thank you. I would like some sugar and milk. You still can't drink it straight? I'm a kid. It must be sweet.
I'm baby.
I'm baby. Call 911.
So then, is magic a gentle lie?
The word lie makes it sound bad. The word embellishment is probably more fitting. When giving a child candy, you can take a crumpled one up out of your pocket. Or you can use some clever sleight of hand to take the candy out. The impression given by each method varies greatly.
Well, yeah, it'd look cooler if you took it out with a little magic trick.
Wrong. There is meaning in the fact that the result, giving them candy, has been adorned to be even more beautiful and fun. Think of it when you give Maria-chan a candy. There's a huge difference between taking it out of your pocket to give it to her and slipping it into her pocket and saying a fairy gave it to her for being such a good girl. In my opinion, it would be boorish to then question everyone about their alibis and pinpoint who it was that slipped it into her pocket. The important thing is the result, that the girl received the candy and rejoiced. It is significant that it was embellished in a way to make her rejoice.
Not surprising. When you showed up, I got the feeling you'd deny anything that went by the name of magic.
That is how I act in my capacity as an inquisitor of heresy. It is my job. However, I am on my 15-minute break. I don't enjoy being quite so cold-hearted.
I am not on the clock. I do not give a heck. This line in particular was when I was like, I think Glanor might be great, actually.
I am on my paid lunch hour.
The unions in heaven go crazy.
And she's the head inquisitor.
Yeah. And yeah, I really like the perspective on magic that this gives, that, like, similarly, it is the job of the reader to disprove magic, right? It's the job of the reader to look at this story and understand how it can happen without magic. But it's not the job of the reader to remove the magic from the story. You try to explain the story without magic to understand it, but you don't... Your task is not to then just strip the magic entirely out of the story, because the magic is still important to Umineko fundamentally. Mm-hmm. Thematically, plot-wise, like, it's very important to a lot of characters in a way that, you know, you can't fully extract it from that, and I think that's very interesting in a sense. Would you like to join me for my smoke break? It's a candy cigarette.
Yeah, did you turn down the sensitivity of the mic?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It's still going to pick up your garlic bread chewing.
Mm-hmm.
Of this, I assure you. But yes, I did. I fixed the game.
So, you set your personal feelings aside when on duty. You do it well.
As an inquisitor of heresy, hunting witches is my job. However, I personally find witches pitiable. Despite this, I carry out judgment mercilessly as an inquisitor.
I'm having second thoughts about how my employment clashes with my morals.
I have a healthy work-life balance. In the end, that doesn't change the fact that I sentence witches to death.
It feels incredibly important to tell the reader that the game isn't looking to tell you destroying any magic is cruel. You are still the human side. It's telling you what kind of magic we're meant to fight. This and the Natsuhi scene. Yeah, absolutely. Which I think is very... I assume you're talking about the scene where Burncastle is like, I just see Natsuhi sitting by herself, and Battler's like, hey, what the fuck is wrong with you? This doesn't matter to the game. It's a really good one. I really like Umineko's kind of thesis on magic. Especially, like, the deeper you get in, the more complicated you realize it is to answer the question, is magic real in Umineko? Because it's like, well, what do you mean by real? Really reminiscent of Battler healing Beato with the Blue Truth, yeah.
In the end, my pity is nothing more than a useless embellishment. Whether I have it or not changes nothing. So it would be better if I didn't. That's not true. Even if the ends are the same, what's in your heart makes a big difference. Your mother's cookies are clearly more delicious than those made by a good pastry shop. That's because you know they were made with heart.
That's right. Even if the result looks the same, whether or not there's warmth behind the feelings of whoever gave it to you makes a big difference.
Is that so? Whether I have a heart is not completely meaningless.
Is completely meaningless.
Is completely meaningless.
Delanor's gaze fell to her cup, a little sadly.
That's not true.
Just like Satoko's cooking in Tatari Goroshi. Don't talk to me about Sadoko right now! But yes.
After hearing all this, I've changed my view of you a bit. And that's why I'm certain the heart isn't meaningless.
Virgilia was a little surprised to hear the words she should have said coming from Battler's mouth. After all, understanding the heart is the first step towards finding the essence of magic. By now, perhaps Battler has unconsciously started to understand, bit by bit, the essence of Beato, the essence of witches, and the very first essence of all, magic. Whether you want to become a witch or vanquish them, the very first step is learning about magic. Virgilia was sure that she'd felt this faint change within Battler.
As for that last fight, thank you very much. I am grateful for the mercy you showed me at the very end.
That me wasn't me. The Lambda Delta was controlling him.
I joined in on the 5th game partway through. I still haven't participated at this point in time. So until I do join in, the Peace Me is probably being controlled by Burncastle or Lambda Delta.
Just what kind of whim's guiding them? Trying to make it look all cool? It made me look like some kind of knight coming to save Beato.
Lady Lambda Delta wants both witches and humans to be in balance, resulting in a draw. With Erika's appearance, the scales tipped strongly in the favor of the human side, so she manipulated the tale in a way that supports Beato. I am aware of that. However, pieces cannot do things that are impossible for them, and they specialize in actions appropriate to their original personality. Therefore, that was certainly something that Battler was capable of. That is why I am grateful to you.
It feels a bit weird to be praised when I didn't actually do anything. After the game continues a bit more, I'll probably regain control of my peace. Not sure I'll be able to go easy on you then.
It's the same with me. The next time we cross swords, I won't hold back.
I like that she has a permanent little kitty mouth.
Yeah.
Bring it on. I'll be your opponent.
Actually, you know what she really looks like, especially with her hat? She looks like a lop-eared bunny.
Oh my god, you're right.
Come at me with all you've got.
I promise, with everything I've got.
Blanor, huh? I thought she was an emotionless killer doll without a heart. But maybe she actually is pretty approachable. Though, of course, neither of us will show any mercy when fighting on the game board.
I love that he's like, I thought she was a fucked up little murder doll, but she's actually quite chill. For a while, we gazed at the rain-drenched rose garden as we quietly enjoyed our tea.
There is one thing I must apologize for.
With a sudden sigh, Dlanor muttered something.
What is it? If it's about that fight a short while ago, it's already over. We both fought with everything we had. The outcome was just the luck of the draw.
No, it wasn't luck of the draw. I couldn't just let it be, so I came here to apologize.
What are you talking about?
You're saying you threw the match, aren't you?
Virgilia spoke softly, without hesitating in her knitting.
That is correct, Mr. Battler.
That mister's really awkward. Just Battler works fine.
Battler, I apologize. We did not give it everything we had. I know. Kinzo is dead at the starting time for all games. Beato has already spoken that truth. In that battle, Battler-kun could have achieved a draw at best. He most certainly had no chance at all of winning.
You're right. You just say that, the whole fight's already over. Why didn't you use that red? Don't tell me it was because of a stalemate or something like that.
Knox's second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. We cannot use that red truth directly. However, I gave Cornelia, who was protecting the window, the red truth that the window was never opened after it started raining.
Boom. That's checkmate. Why didn't that girl use that trump card?
Well, you don't tend to use cards in chess.
This is, allow me to speak. There is no way to defeat my red. Know that your wish shall not be granted.
Though she had fought calmly up until that point, she quickly got flustered when I dashed forwards. I thought she'd been frightened by my sudden attack, but the truth was different. Even though she held a trump card that could completely repel me, she suddenly became unable to use it and hesitated.
I don't understand. All of a sudden, in that instant, use of that trump card became forbidden. Once we lost that, your victory was guaranteed.
I did that on purpose, by the way.
I believe you.
I was thinking about Maguka.
Yeah.
It's posted recently again.
I should watch Maguka again. That was a good fucking video.
Maduka. Become
What is
Maguka.
it, Kirby? It's all checkmate before I whip out my blue eyes white dragon. That's how it works in witches chess.
Yup. I can guarantee that. The game master, Lady Lambda Delta, probably interfered.
bastard. So in the end, that whole fight was a farce in the palm of Lambda Delta's hand. She made us play out that entire act according to her script.
I do not like it. However, since you told me to fight with everything I had no choice but to let you know. Please forgive me. Still, even though you lost your trump card, you kept on fighting all out with your remaining cards. I don't believe anyone could find fault with what you did.
That's right. On the contrary, you should be mad at Lambda Delta for butting in.
Kinzo doesn't exist should already be an established fact. Lady Lambda Delta and Lady Berncastle should know this well. And yet, they are both leaving room for Kinzo to exist as they continue in this game. It's almost as though the two are conspiring to prevent Kinzo's existence from being denied.
In other words, they intentionally let Grandfather escape?
Yes, they must be after something. That is a bit odd. Lady Lambda Delta and Lady Berncastle should always be in opposition, unless the wish side is in a superior position. Sorry about that. It's hard to imagine that those two are conspiring together at a time like this.
They are doing their own fucked up crud. Really like the concept of Dlanar saying fucked up, but won't say shit.
I can't help but think they have some sort of wicked goal. I came here because I wanted you to know that.
So, you came all the way here to tell us something like that?
Yes, which means that my business here is finished. I think I will leave now. The game will probably resume shortly. I must aid Erica during the rest of this game.
Dlanar gulped down the last of her black tea and stood up.
Next is the battle of the second twilight. At that point, I will once again raise my merciless longsword. So I ask the same of you, Battler. Show no mercy towards me.
I'm gonna shut our window because I think there are some kids playing outside.
That's fair.
I understand. If I went easy on you, I'd have my own head smashed in.
Yippee.
Sorry, I was just looking at Sissel.
Yeah, he's taking a bath crazy style. I couldn't figure out which legs were where for a second.
Yeah.
What?
Freak.
Mind your fucking business. Don't you have a stream to do? On the game board, I am nothing more than Lady Berncastle's piece and Farudo Erica's subordinate. In the future, we will probably stand across from each other as opponents many times. However, my heart is always neutral. No, please forget that. Such has no meaning considering the relationship between the two of us.
It does. There's no doubt you're a fearsome opponent, but you don't piss me off anymore. Though that Erica totally pisses me off.
Good. Farudo Erica also pisses me off.
Dlanar, I love you. Dlanar's expression finally softened slightly. At the very last moment, it felt as though we finally understood each other. Over our mutual hatred of Erica. Adrian?
Oh, fuck.
Farudo Erica is a very evil entity. She's lost face with her recent defeat and is burning with a desire for revenge. Even I don't know what she is planning. However, it can't be anything good. Please take care.
Just knowing she's Berncastle's piece tells me I can't let my guard down. Glanor nodded as though satisfied, left the overhang of the arbor, and walked out into the rain. My boss really sucks.
I fucking hate her. To think I'd serve as a subordinate to such evil. Why was I called to this world?
Glanor let out a small sigh. Pieces can do nothing except fulfill the function they have been given. And that function is given to them by the one who controls them. She probably can't disobey her own player, Berncastle.
Lady Berncastle may be the one who called you here. However, the one who let you into this world is Beato. If this child didn't wish it, you would never have been able to make it through the garden maze and arrive here. Right, Beato? Miss Beatrice, what is it you want from me? I do hope I can help you in some way, though I may be a subordinate of evil.
She spoke to Beato, but of course there was no response. After bowing once more in thanks for the black tea, Glanor disappeared off into the rainy rose garden. So no one can reach this golden land if Beato doesn't want them to?
Yes. This child is the one who called Glanor here.
So, Beato called her here so I could meet with her. However, I know of a person who reached this place despite Beato's wishes. It's Anjay. In the last game, Anjay reached this place by herself, even though she was an uninvited guest. Was that also something Beato wished for?
I am here. You are here. Beato is here. Delanor was invited here. All of these things happened because this child wanted them to. Even the bit of time you and Delanor spent together drinking tea.
Beato, what was I supposed to learn from her? Does it have something to do with finding your heart and letting you rest in peace? Delanor A. Knox, the natural enemy of witches, an inquisitor of heresy, a vanguard of mystery who denies fantasy. Is she here to help by gouging out your heart and choking the life out of you?
Please stand on one leg.
Cornelia slowly got up and stood on one leg as she had been ordered. Her hands were clasped behind her back, because she had been ordered to do so. Then, with a thump, Erica pushed her from behind with both hands. Cornelia landed on the floor face first with a thud.
Please stand on one leg.
Cornelia rose shakily. Then, once again, she stood on one leg as she had been ordered. She had been ordered not to hold her ground, so she had fallen on her face over and over again. She had barely managed to protect her nose, but after smashing against the floor so many times, her face was bright red. Erica ripping the head off her dolls because she's mad? Yeah. She wasn't shedding any tears. No, she couldn't shed them, because she was forbidden to do even that.
Please stand on one leg.
Thump. Thud.
Please stand on one leg.
Thump. Thud. Thump. Thud. Erica repeated this falling torture over and over again. At times like this, Erica hated counting things. So she decided that once she ran out of fingers to count the number of times, she would just repeat it until she lost interest. However, Erica's main redeeming feature was that she never lost interest in anything. So the torture continued on and on. Erica didn't know why Cornelia had been unable to fully protect the window, so the whole time since then, she had placed all the blame of their loss on her.
Please allow me to speak. Forgive Cornelia. She has already repented enough.
Oh, is that true? Then please take her place from now on.
Gertrude has done nothing wrong.
Gertrude, please stand on one leg. Clasp your hands behind you.
Gertrude followed the order, and clasped her hands behind her back, standing on one leg.
You mustn't resist or hold your ground. You are not permitted to bend your knees. You are not permitted to shed any tears. Got it?
As you wish. Gertrude!
Erica made a show of walking behind Gertrude. She even enjoyed making her wonder when she'd push. At that time, Gertrude and Cornelia burst with a bright light and disappeared. Because Dlanor, who must have returned at some point, had sent them back to the heavens for the time being. Erica, who'd had her fun spoiled, gave Dlanor an openly malicious look.
Miss Erica, I will bear the punishment for all my subordinates' faults as their superior. I ask that you let them go.
No, thank you. Punishment only works because it causes pain. There's nothing interesting about an unfeeling doll girl that I can't leave a single injury on.
Erica slowly grabbed hold of the back of Dlanor's hair, tugging unrelentingly. Dlanor's neck tilted upwards, creaking.
You may not cause a physical injury, but you do injure.
As if you had a heart that could get injured. You lowly witch-hunting murder doll. Are you trying to talk back to me? Me, the envoy and double of the great Lady Berncastle?
No.
I got scolded by Lady Berncastle because you guys are useless. Never fail so lamely again.
Does Delanor, like, her one thing on her head keep on clipping back and behind her one?
That's correct.
Twin.
It seems that Yukishi did not make a firm decision on which of those two parts of her sprite is in form.
Okay, just making sure.
Understand?
But yeah, I've been noticing that too. I was like, really? The hair she had grabbed was stretched back as far as it would go, along with more creaking. This didn't cause Dlanor any physical pain, but she could clearly feel Erica's ill will.
My apologies. Forgive me.
Filth.
With a sound like a bowstring being cut, several of Dlanor's hairs were pulled out. Then, Erica waved her hand about as though trying to brush off something dirty that had gotten stuck to it.
Well, that's okay. I'm done. My anchor's finally settled down, and my little gray cells are tingling again. Please call those two useless people back and reconstruct the crime scene. Let's start the reasoning game.
Understood. Gertrude, Cornelia. As you wish.
The two of them reappeared behind Dlanor, and reconstructed the crime scene for Erica, the one who had just been tormenting them.
Kinzo's disappearance was nothing more than a bonus round after the first Twilight. Let's start investigating the first Twilight itself. But before we do that, did you realize we were actually given a riddle before the murders even occurred?
Yes, the letter with the mark of the one-winged eagle, which appeared at 2400 last night, along with a knock by some person.
That's right. The tale that creates the illusion that the events of that instant would be impossible for any human, making it seem like an unknown witch exists. Let's start by crushing this illusion of the witch. We'll first check the situation in the dining hall last night when the letter was delivered.
Understood. Gertrude, Cornelia, reconstruct last night's family conference in the dining hall. As you wish.
The family conference last night was held with the adult relatives and Battler. And partway through, the servants had arrived to serve tea.
Let's check everyone's location at the instant the letter arrived. How did that go again?
Please allow me to speak. Before the family conference, Erica, George, Jessica, Maria, Nanjo, Goda, and Kumasawa left the mansion and moved to the guest house. Please allow me to speak. Of those who remain, only Kraus, Natsuhi, and Genji were in the second floor corridor, while all others were in the dining hall. Because the family conference was proceeding and the mansion was completely locked, all other humans were unable to enter the mansion.
Ah, that'd mean there was no one inside the mansion who could have knocked and placed the letter there, right?
Yes. The witch's side will probably claim that the one who did this was the witch who wrote the letter, Beatrice.
Ridiculous. A stupid trick. There's no guarantee that the letter was placed there at exactly 2400. It's only sensible to consider that it might have been placed there earlier.
Just a few minutes before the letter was discovered, Shannon and Cannon came in to serve tea. When they entered, multiple witnesses confirmed that there was nothing suspicious like a letter in the hallway.
Maybe one of those not in the parlor, Kraus, Natsuhi, or Genji, simply saw their chance right after that and placed the letter there. No, wait, it should be possible for the people who supposedly went to the guest house, too. We heard that the mansion was locked and that no one outside could get in, but if someone pretended to have gone to the guest house and instead hid inside the mansion, it would have been perfectly possible for them to place the letter there.
Please allow me to speak. Blue truth valid. In that case, the problem is the knock. Unlike the letter, someone would have to exist there at the instant of the knock.
I see. So this is the so-called proof that a person who shouldn't be there, a witch, existed.
I thought I was so smart for solving this one. It didn't solve shit. This is a tough riddle. The letter and the knock here are... It's something. It's real episode 5.
This is just so ridiculous. Do they think I, Furudo Erika, would surrender to something like that? First off, we can doubt whether the knock was even something hitting the door onto the dining hall at all. For example, there may be a certain pillar on the second floor which, because of how the mansion's constructed, makes a noise when struck that gets transmitted down the pillar, and that sounds just like a knock on the door to people in the dining hall.
There was an Easter egg in episode 7 for your wrong solution? That's beautiful.
Oh my god.
Or they could have misheard some random sound to be a knock, and they all misconstrued it in the same way. Or the recorded sound of a knock could have been stealthily replayed from a tape, which might have been carefully set up to go off exactly at that time. Either way, I can think of many ways to make them hear a knock, even if no one was on the other side of the door. How is that, my master? How is my reasoning?
That's what she says, so what do you think?
Well, it looks like your cute piece gave it her all thinking up those blue truths. So I guess I'll be nice and give out a few reds. I guess I'll start with the letter. We both had the knock made when the bell of the large clock rang out at 2400. And the letter sitting there in an envelope bearing the one-winged eagle crest when the door was open. It's so obvious to suspect that the people who weren't in the parlor secretly placed the letter there, right? Kraus, Nazi, and Genji did not even touch that letter!
Oh. Then, when Shannon and Cadden came in to serve tea, who was the last human to enter the dining hall?
Let's say it was Cannon. Wouldn't it be easy if Cannon, the last person in, secretly dropped the letter there when he closed the door?
Not a single person in the dining hall. No, there's a simpler way to say it. Among all those inside the mansion at 2400, not a single person placed that letter in the corridor.
So you can't say that no one touched it?
Obviously. They touched it when they picked it up. Of course I couldn't say that none of them touched it.
Erica's a reply guy to Burncastle on Twitter.
Oh my god.
Always with the,
So true, my master, and you're so right.
reblogs Tumblr posts with unnecessary additions and not even in the tags. God.
Yeah.
I see. And let's interpret it this way. Someone who existed outside of the mansion at 2400 placed a letter somewhere other than the hallway beforehand. Then it was moved by some means and ended up placed in the hallway. Just as an example, let's say it was stuck to the bottom of the serving cart the servants were pushing. It was simply glued there in a way that would make it come unstuck after a certain amount of time. When it eventually fell off, it became the letter left behind by a witch who shouldn't have existed. In other words, this is a classic trick where the true sender gives themselves an alibi by making the letter appear at a different time.
Please allow me to speak. Blue truth valid.
In other words, the fact that it landed just outside the dining hall door was just the culprit's good luck. At worst, it might have happened in the kitchen, the corridor, or even inside the dining hall. Oh, good! If it had happened inside the dining hall, that would have been even more wonderful. With everyone's sight, a letter would suddenly appear on the floor. And that wouldn't even violate a red truth saying no one in the closed room of the dining hall touched the letter unexpectedly.
Well done. If the letter was stuck to the bottom of the serving cart, then anyone could be the culprit.
That might work okay regarding the letter. However, will that same type of argument apply to the knock as well? Let's try this again, shall we?
Please, go ahead.
Neither Kraus nor Natsuki nor Genji knocked. This isn't the limited meaning of them knocking on the door, okay? It means they didn't use a pillar to transmit the sound or push the play button on a cassette tape that recorded or create that knock by any means. Of course, this applies to direct, indirect, intentional, coincidental, and unintentional means.
This wedge has already been knocked in, but I'll repeat it. Maybe someone other than Kraus, Natsuki, or Genji made that knock. Or else a sound that could be misidentified as a knock.
Please allow me to speak. Let it be known that at 2400, excepting Kraus, Natsuki, and Genji in the second floor corridor and all the people in the dining hall, no humans existed inside the mansion.
I love mid-late game where reds are full of ridiculous but necessary litigation. It's genuinely beautiful to me. I love it too, because it's like, in order to make it harder, you need to explicitly rule out more things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, episode 5 is, I would say, ignoring the difficulty levels for a bit, I would say by the standards of Umineko, episode 5 is one of the more difficult ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so they accomplish a lot of that by being like, they have to think of everything that you might think of and be like, nope, it's not that. Nope, it's not that.
Please allow me to speak. Let it be known that in addition to Kraus, Natsuki, and Genji, none of those in the dining hall knocked on that door. In this sense, knock includes all direct, indirect, intentional, unintentional, and coincidental events that could have created a knocking sound.
Can you guys just define knock once and then say that that's your
No,
definition of the word knock henceforth?
absolutely not.
Beto used to do that all the time.
Nope.
She was like, let me say what a locked room is once, and then when I say locked room after this, we both know it means all of those things.
Fuck you.
A direct knock refers to someone literally hitting a door to make a knocking sound. An intentional knock refers to somebody creating a fake knocking sound to try and make it appear that someone knocked. An unintentional knock refers to someone unintentionally creating a fake knocking sound. A coincidental knock refers to some kind of coincidence creating a fake knocking sound.
Blenner's getting out some garlic bread.
Yay.
I'm sorry.
Blenner has to speak.
Fuck. In short, this means that it is impossible for any character within the mansion to be the source of a knocking sound. And any character refers to even unobserved people that no one has noticed.
Anyone who was in the mansion would also include any unknown person X who had snuck into the mansion. Therefore, it literally meant it was impossible for anyone inside the mansion to knock, with no wordplay allowed.
I see. No matter how much I toy with it, it's impossible for anyone except those in the guest house group to create the knocking sound, right?
Deny it. Deny that X was opening garlic knots on the other side of the door. Garlic knocks.
Like me, for example. What if I, Furuto Erika, recorded a knocking sound on a cassette tape and used some kind of secret contraption to start it playing at exactly 2400? Of course, I wasn't in the mansion at 2400. There aren't any problems with this, are there?
No problems. However, though the knock did serve as a way of informing them about the letter on the outside of the door.
What?
I do not think it would have worked if the letter had fallen elsewhere.
If the trick in Erika's theory about the letter being stuck to the serving cart was accurate, then the location that the letter fell was a matter of luck. Because it had fortunately fallen near the door, the people in the dining hall noticed it due to the knock. However, if the location it fell was a matter of chance, it might have landed in the far-off kitchen or remained stuck even after they entered. If that had happened, the knock would have been ignored as though they'd just imagined it. In other words, the knock by itself wouldn't transmit any message at all. It only made it appear as though someone had been there because it was paired with the letter. In that case, the random location the letter fell to off the bottom of the serving cart wouldn't be connected with the knock. For the letter to be found thanks to the knock, it would have to be reliably positioned on the other side of the door. However, it was announced in red that no one in the mansion had placed the letter in the hallway.
Overruled that read about placing it in the corner of it. No one in the mansion placed the letter in the hallway. This includes doing so by all concepts such as directly, indirectly, intentional, coincidentally, and unintentionally. For example,
Mouthful of garlic bread.
Girls, don't do this to me.
let's assume that there is a device on the serving cart that drops the letter when it stops moving. In this case, you'd think they could predict that the car would probably stop just once and those two knocked on the door to the dining hall. And by doing so, they'd be cleverly making it so that the letter drops right in front of the door. But
Sorry, I was choking.
But even this doesn't work okay. The action of stopping the serving car would indirectly lead to placing the letter in the hallway. This would mean Shannon and Cannon, who were pushing the cart, had indirectly and unintentionally placed the letter there. So even this is no good. Furthermore, setting it up so that the letter peels off with the passage of time would mean that the people pushing the serving cart had coincidentally and unintentionally placed the letter there. Of course, this also is no good.
Repeat it. At 2400, only Erika, George, Jessica, Maria, Nanjo, Goda, and Kumasawa existed outside the mansion.
What if someone in the dining hall didn't exist in the mansion right at 2400? For example, what if they'd slipped out a window just before? With this wordplay, it might be possible to get around the red truth.
Repeat it! Even though I'm nice enough to give you all this red for free, aren't you being a bit greedy? I'm not an idiot like Beto, so I won't go around saying everything my opponent tells me to repeat.
I'll give you a full-body massage and a bath with marshmallows and conpeto sometime soon. Enough to rub your skin off.
Now you've got to keep that promise. Okay, here's a freebie. I'll respond. At 2400, only Erica, George, Jessica, Maria, Najo, Goda, and Kumasawa exist outside the mansion.
In other words, no matter how much they struggled, those 8 people, including Erica, could not have existed inside the mansion, much less in front of the door. And at the same time, no matter how much they struggled, those inside the mansion could not have existed outside the mansion.
In that case, the letter might have been stuck to the ceiling of the hallway instead of the serving cart. The ceiling of the hallway is surprisingly high, so even if you just stuck it there out in the open, maybe no one would notice it. This way, it would certainly fall in the corridor. And you can slip by the rat if someone outside the mansion did this. Good job, me!
Please allow me to speak. The letter never existed on the ceiling of the hallway. Please allow me to speak. Know that the letter never touched the serving cart.
Who cares about that? Anyway, some human outside the mansion used some kind of trick to place the letter there. If you try to use that letter in Knox to argue that Beatrice exists, it definitely won't work on Furuto Erika.
Please allow me to speak. It was impossible for anyone outside the mansion to influence anything inside the mansion after the family conference began.
Then someone outside the mansion set up some kind of device before the family conference. Something other than the ceiling or the serving cart.
Please allow me to speak. Blue truth invalid.
Why? That's the only way, right? Someone outside the mansion used some kind of device other than the ceiling or the serving cart.
Please allow me to speak. Unless you can specify or theorize as to what that something might be, your blue truth will not be acknowledged. Please allow me to speak. All of Lady Erica's blue truths regarding the letter have been lost.
They've all been lost, you say? Watch your tongues a bit more, useless furniture. If I can just think of that device, it's an instant checkmate. What do you mean, all of them? What do you mean my blue truth is invalid? How dare you say such a thing to me, the detective, Furuto Erika?
Erika's face twisted. These words that seemed to deny Erika. No, Erika's reasoning were the worst form of torture and humiliation for her.
Lol.
Lol, LMAO.
LMAO.
I think it's also really funny that Erika, I would say, is characterized as being a bad mystery reader because she's obnoxious and self-absorbed and wants to, like, beat the mystery more than she wants to, like, engage in it. Something I find really funny is that part of that is characterizing Erika as getting really upset when her theories are disproven. Which is just funny to me because I fucking love when my shit gets disproven. Obviously, I love being vindicated, right? I love being right. I love calling some crazy shot and then just watching it all come together. That feels great. But I will also say, I fucking love when I am, like, dead set on something and I can tell that the author knew that I was gonna think that and just, like, kneecaps it on purpose to my face. Happened to me at least a few times in Umineko, I think, where I was, like, so sure, and then Rikishi was just like, no.
Nope.
No, I knew you would think of that. I'm going to specifically go out of my way to deny that. Which I think is just like, yeah, I love that. That's, like, part of the fun for me. And I like that Erika, the reader who sucks, like, can't see the fun in that. She has to win all the time. I'm like, no! It's a battle! I want to be fought against, too. Higurashi really does that. Yeah. Not me, though. I've never been wrong in my life about Higurashi. Let the record show. Let the record show my personal stocks keep going up, baby. I always win.
Give me a minute.
Yeah. There's still time for Rikishi to do it to me, but I know I'm right.
But also, the more I know I'm right, the funnier it's gonna be if I'm not. Which is part of why I'm always tripling down on it. But I'm also like, I'm being vindicated recently, so we'll see. All ratings at 35, baby. 35 stocks have never been higher. They keep going up.
35 real.
35 real. It's gonna be the funniest thing in the world if it's not. And I've been this married to it for this long. But I gotta believe. I believe in 35. I got owned by a red herring in episode 1 and 2. That, I mean, that's fair, I think.
Which one? I want to know.
Well, careful, Grace is gonna read it eventually.
Grace, close your eyes.
It's Lenor's line.
Fuck, you're right.
Miss Erica, why don't we postpone the riddle of the letter for now? Your blue stake about someone outside the mansion playing it with a cassette tape is still valid. If it was possible for sound, then perhaps it wasn't impossible for a letter as well.
As Erica made to grab and pull Gertrude's hair, Glanor stopped her with those words.
That's right, my blue truth regarding the knock is still valid. It's not true that everything's been denied. My master, I will solve the riddle of the letter without fail. Please allow me to postpone that for now. However, I will definitely figure out the riddle of the knock here. I've hit you with the blue stake that someone outside the mansion set things up with a cassette tape or something to make a knock sound play.
Oh yeah, Grace, you can also open up your eyes. It's gonna be through cup and string.
Yeah.
You really are a cute kid, Priest of Burns. Lots of spunk. Anyway, Erica's yelling that you forgive her because she solved one of the two riddles, even though she's resigned to the other. So will you forgive her?
Sure. Normally I'd never forgive my own peace for the shame of surrendering. But if you've managed to solve one of the riddles, I guess I'll let it slide for now. My master!
When Burncastle said she'd let it slide, Erica couldn't hide her relief.
Then it's time to get punished, Erica-chan!
That's true, Grace. You've never been wrong even once in your life. I love knowing exactly what words you censored.
I don't.
It's Grace's famous theory.
Oh!
You know what words have that many letters.
I know, absolutely. That's what happened.
That's literally what happened.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Grace, I want you to know that this is the song that plays in my head every time I read your insane epitaph analysis.
Every time you're catching up on the group chat, the epitaphic
and you're
is taking
losing
place.
your mind, bleeding out on the ground.
That's true. But it's not boring.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, this is not boring. No, Grace, it's all gonna be worth it when you finally either solve it or get to the answer in game, and then you get to reread everything you've sent us. It's getting me through it to know that you're going to be able to look back on this after all is said and done.
You will. We said it once, and we'll say it again. You could keep a witch alive for a quadrillion years on your logic.
Yeah, you really could. Was that a Lambda Delta line, probably?
I already said the line.
No. Well, she said get punished, but then this is not in quotes, but that feels like something she said.
That doesn't have quotation marks.
It doesn't, but I still think she said
None
it.
of the characters misidentified a knocking sound.
Oh. What's that supposed to mean?
Oh.
Misidentifying a knocking sound means this. They would not mistake a sound very similar to a knocking sound for a real knocking sound.
But would they mistake a sound that was not similar to a knocking sound for a real knocking
Shut
sound?
the fuck up. You're so annoying.
That's a legitimate question.
I know, but Lambda Delta would call you annoying.
That's true.
Hitting a pillar to make something similar to a knocking sound is no good. When you record a knocking sound on a cassette tape and play it back, it becomes the sound of a tape with a knocking sound on it, and not a knocking sound.
Ce n'est pas un pipe.
What?
The painting of a pipe that says this is not a pipe.
Oh.
I probably said French very badly there.
So that's no good either. In other words, every one of them would correctly recognize a knocking sound of something truly hitting the door.
That's so beautiful and twisted. How did I not think of that yell? I am knocking. Natsuhi would fall for that. I know, she's not even one of the people in the mansion, I don't think, but like...
She would believe that. She was having a wonderful time in her room.
Yes, that's right.
And they definitely wouldn't mishear it.
Oh no, she was one of the 3 that wasn't in the room that heard the knock, but she was in the mansion because she was in her room having a regular one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was out. She was busy.
It's totally impossible that any sound except hitting that door directly could be misinterpreted as a knock.
Damn. Alright, she ruled out my something that doesn't sound like a knock. That's sad. It was beautiful for a brief moment.
What that means? At the time the bell sounding 2400 went off, no one existed who could have hit the door.
Yup, they don't exist. After all, the Golden Witch Beatrice hit it.
So in other words, there's no way to make it work unless you actually hit the door. So what about this? There was some kind of device that could knock on the door.
Some kind of device, sweet.
Absolutely huge. Every day I think about that post that's like, just finished Umineko episode 1 and Battler is hopelessly dependent on the concept of a weird device. One thing about Umineko, they're gonna posit a weird device. I'm trying to think if I have any serious theories of like things going forward that can still be disproven, but I don't think so. I can't remember if I've seen your episode 5 theory specifically, because I was going over your blue truths for the question arcs today, and grading them, which is hard to do on account of a lot of things. But it was fun to read through and actually really compare them side by side with things, because they're lovely blue truths.
Your blue truths are delicious.
They are. Truly was not boring.
That was me slurping them up like spaghettis.
Yeah. Yeah, you've definitely said them around. But yeah, if you would like to gather them in one place for my appraisal, I would love that very much.
Our group chat.
They probably are. I just don't know if she has like compiled, not the episode 5 ones. Her big thing with all the blue truths.
That was in our group chat.
That was in the group chat, but it was only for episodes 1 through 4. She didn't include her episode 5 stuff. She said some episode 5 stuff. I just don't remember all of it.
There was something like an automatic door knocker, and that made it possible to knock without touching the door with your hands.
To knock means someone hitting a door with their hand, right?
You can knock with not your hand if
Shut
you're
up.
crazy.
Go away. I won't accept hitting it with some device. They heard a knock at the same time as the 2400 bell.
Somebody grabbed someone else's hand and knocked with their hand, and it could not therefore be defined. I don't know. I know the answer, I'm just saying bullshit. I'm trying to think of other ways around it besides...
They cut off someone else's hand.
Yeah, they cut off someone else's hand, so someone did knock with a hand on the door. But it wasn't their hand. Therefore, I call my ass my hand. Exactly.
Beatrice.
Beto.
I'm trying to solve the epitaph. Sound of my tummy thing happens. People keep mistaking it as the sound of a knock.
Say it in red. All hands in the mansion were attached to bodies at the time.
Well, if you cut off someone else's hand, it's now in your possession, so it is now your hand.
Grace did make that point.
Oh my
fucking
fucking
she said
God.
it's their hand. So if you have a device that throws a severed hand that you own,
If you simply have the handgun, the
What if
gun
you-
that shoots hands.
what if you don't believe in the concept of earthly possessions? What if you're like a monk? Repeat it in red. None of you Shinomias are monks. No one on this island is a monk. Say it in red. Say it in red right now.
Say it in red.
I could never twisted logic as good as Grace can twisted logic, but by God, can I try.
Say it in red. No one will mistake the sound of ass cheeks as a knock.
And none of them misinterpreted a knocking sound. Kraus, Natsuki, and Genji were not involved in the making of the knocking sound.
This fucking riddle, man.
No one else existed inside the mansion.
Yeah.
And knock refers to the action of standing directly in front of a door and hitting it with a hand.
Question: if you're a double pirate and you have hooks on both of your hands,
Are you even capable of knocking at that point?
yeah.
Legally speaking.
Hey, Vern. What do you think of my red? Don't you think this is pretty simple and enjoyable despite being before the first twilight? The Golden Witch made her graceful appearance with a knocking sound.
The invisible hand of the market.
If you consider the invisible hand of the free market.
It was Kraus. He employed the invisible hand of the free market.
It's a secret technique.
Common knowledge in the world of
If
capitalism.
Kraus was in Golden Fantasia, that would be his meta super. The invisible hand of the free. That is the type of shit that they would name a
They
move in Golden
would.
Fantasia.
He would have a move called To the Moon.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what he would obviously have something referencing like moon tourism.
Common knowledge.
Yeah, obviously common knowledge, but he would have something referencing moon tourism, but I'm trying to figure out what it would be, because the only thing I can think of would be for it to just be a clone of that one Rosa move, where she takes you up in the air and slams you.
You mean Ava Beatrice move?
Yes.
Rosa.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah,
what the
I'm thinking of
fuck?
that because she does it to Rosa. You're right. Yeah, it would be a clone of that Avatrice move where she moon tourism is kneeing you upwards.
There's a moon, but a moon shows up in the graphic.
Yeah, and his little portrait cut in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The cross counter, of course. Well, that's just painfully common knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. This really is riveting, Lambda. Wouldn't have it any other way. Yes, how amusing.
The two witches doubled over laughing as though this was the most fun thing in the world.
My master! Don't worry! If you just give my little gray cells some time, I will definitely reach an answer to this pitiful red. You're nothing but a lowly piece. Your absence wouldn't hinder my progress in this game in the slightest. If you can't think of any theories in particular, please just go back to the peace tray and gather dust or something. Useless pieces are painful even to remember.
After all, Burn's pretty forgetful. If you don't try a little harder, Burn's gonna forget about you. Okay. You'll collect dust in that forgotten peace tray, awaiting your turn that'll never come. I imagine that'd be pretty harsh, don't you think?
Don't worry, Lady Lambda-Delta, and my master. I promise that I'll keep you entertained and never let you down again. Oh, how reassuring. I guess you're my double after all. But make sure you really are giving it your all, in more ways than one. If you don't make an impact, I might forget all about you.
As the two witches giggled, they continued discussing the letter and the knock. There was no room for Erica to step in. If she contented herself with that, she would literally have no place to go, and would be buried in an eternal oblivion. Erica endured this with a hideous expression, looking with shame at the back of the master who ignored her. And with both fists clenched, she thought frantically in search of some kind of breakthrough. I am the detective.
I am Furuto Erica. I am the peace and double and servant of the great Lady Burncastle. I'll definitely make her satisfied. Satisfied. Definitely. Shit on me, I'm battler. How dare you humiliate me so?
I love how this scene starts with Erica just pettily bullying the other Inquisitor gals. Just taking us so much pleasure from that, but the moment that any pressure is put on her from Burn, when she gets an ounce of what she dishes out, she just crumbles into goo.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
Wet beast.
I'm not owned!
Perhaps one of the most not owned characters of all time. As she stood there, ignored by the witches and shrouded in darkness, it looked like someone had told her to go stand all alone in the hallway. With the crime in the early morning, we'd completely forgotten about breakfast, so we now had our first meal of the day at a time that could never be called breakfast time. Even Goda-san's wonderful meal, which had supposedly been in the works since yesterday, provided no comfort. The several empty seats quietly burdened us with a pain-filled sadness. Then, in the middle of this meal that felt like a vigil, Erica suddenly stood up. Everyone focused on her to see what was the matter. Her expression was somewhere between relief and insanity, as though she'd made some groundbreaking and strange discovery. Hey, what's up? Are you okay?
I got it! Did you think I wouldn't understand? Yes, I got it. There's no way something that stupid could happen.
With a hideous expression covered in cold sweat, Erica glared and lashed out at Bettler. What do you get?
There's no way you jumped down from the third floor study! Not one of us saw you fall down and land in the courtyard. When you set up the ladder from the courtyard and saw Rudolph's-san go up to it by the third-story window, you closely observed the construction of the outer wall and realized that by cleverly using a rain gutter, it might be possible to go down to the courtyard from the third-floor window. You didn't jump down. You used a rain gutter or something and clumsily wriggled down the outer wall. What do you think of my blue truth? Come on, what's your counter-argument?
My counter-argument?
You don't have a counter-argument? Then my truth is valid, right? Hey, did you see that? Trying to look cool and making it look like you jumped down was all an illusion. You just jumped out and latched onto a rain gutter.
The argument then was about whether it was possible for Grandfather to escape from the study, right? And it was possible for Grandfather to escape through the window. All I did was prove that. He's sort of like, okay, I don't give a fuck.
You'd be like, yeah, what? Whatever.
Whether I jump down or crawl down, that doesn't change anything, does it?
Don't try to change the subject! A mere human can't jump down from the 3rd floor. Did you see that? Did you see that? What do you think of my reasoning, my master?
Are you tired or something? Just calm down and eat some food. When he escaped to the courtyard through the window, Battler really did use the rain gutter to crawl down the wall, just like Erica said. His hand had slipped halfway, and he had fallen from a considerable height, but he had managed to land on his feet. No one had witnessed this, but most likely everyone in the dining hall now except Erica had realized that something like this had happened. Since the very beginning, no one had believed that he'd jumped down from the 3rd floor window, even if they hadn't witnessed that directly. So they had no clue what Erica was complaining about all of a sudden, and started to whisper, staring at her with cold eyes and dubious faces.
You can't counter that, can you? You jumping down has already been denied. My truth has won. My blue truth is valid. My master, please acknowledge this. I am not incompetent or a disappointment.
You do such a good job with the sad, wet, pathetic beast voice for Erica.
Thank you. The secret to my Erica voice is that I start with my Bernkastel voice and just force a lot more air through it, and that makes her voice really breaky.
It's a really good technique.
And it's really... Because Bernkastel is easy for me to do, so it's just a version of Bernkastel that, like, her voice sounds insane, but it's not as strenuous as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it also means that when she's... Because I needed a voice that I could easily make freak out, because she does this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I will match up to your expectations without fail. So please don't abandon me. My master!
Facing someone that might have been somewhere beyond the ceiling, Erica spread her arms and yelled. She literally is a sopping wet creature, is the thing.
A bug.
Yeah. Then, as if in answer, a massive lightning bolt landed very close by. It was an incredible sound. They could even feel the earth shake. At the same time as that sound, Erica went limp and fell into her seat like a puppet who just had all its strings cut. Let's go, baby! Puppet with its strings cut mentioned. Then, as the sound of wind and rain slowly filled the room once again, Erica slowly opened her eyes as though recovering from a bout of dizziness. Then, she continued eating in silence as though nothing had happened, as if she had been acting normally the whole time. Didn't Erica just stand up suddenly and yell something strange at someone?
This is Bernkastel being like, you're getting your free will taken, okay? Yeah. Away real quick for a little bit because you're being annoying.
Yeah. Putting your consciousness in timeout. Automatically. Enough to make one doubt their eyes, Erica continued eating quietly as though everything was perfectly normal. When they saw how ordinary she looked, everyone convinced themselves that they were totally worn out, and that they must have just seen some illusion of Erica suddenly yelling. So Erica's sudden transfiguration of a few seconds ago was treated as a daydream, and faded out of everyone's memories. Erica quietly poked at her salad and muttered in a voice no one could hear.
Thank you very much, great Lady Bernkastel. I am Furudo Erica. I am my master's piece and her double. I will most certainly present you with an incredible tale. That's right. When it comes to utensils, knives and forks are pretty primitive. Chopsticks are the best. Don't you think chopsticks are the easiest way to eat salad?
Depends on the salad, I feel like. Some salads? Probably. I don't know about all of them.
Well, everyone.
God. Eric is such a good character.
She is such a freak.
Love her. She's so crazy, love her, but actually... Perhaps one of the most characters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I made myself congested fake crying too hard.
Oh my god.
Balthazar returned to the guest house at 3 a.m. And the rest of you split up about 30 minutes later, right?
Yes, that's right. Drowsiness was finally starting to catch up to us. We decided to take a short rest and then start up again.
To smoke out the murderer of the first Twilight, Erica closely questioned everyone involved to check their alibis and evidence. To confirm these, she went around the mansion with them, and when needed, took several trips out to the guest house through all the rain. Her vitality was impressive. Though she was an uninvited guest, everyone had long since stopped feeling anything strange about the way she played the detective. It seems Erica is also steadily building her foundation.
It's useless. Whether alibis exist or not, she can't deny our existence.
It's all useless.
I forgot Beato is sometimes alive.
Yeah, periodically.
Kinzo escaped through the window and now one with the mists of Rokenjima.
I do like that Natsuhi's mind buddies have gained free will and just, like, chat without her now.
Mm-hmm. She most certainly won't be able to capture or deny him. When all's said and done, perhaps you could say he's escaped to the underside of the chessboard.
In that case, maybe it would be appropriate to say he's been stowed away.
Come to think about it, about those corpses from the first Twilight. They've been stowed away too, right? Yes, they've been put away in my darkness, which lies between this world and the next. And that detective wannabe won't be able to find them. Of course she won't. It'd definitely be impossible for a human. Wanna check? Just in case. And we may also need to re-examine Lady Buncaster's goals will be from now on.
If you know your enemy, you need not fear the outcome of 100 battles.
If you know the truth, you can win 100 battles without fighting.
My. Gop opened up a large hole in the sky and had it swallow all of them up. She invited Beato and Runaway to the gap between worlds where she had hidden the corpses. That place was nowhere in this world, and existed at no time of this world. In other words, it truly and literally was a place not of this world. In this place, questions such as where is this and what time is it have no meaning. Every single place led to here, but no place could be reached from here. Furthermore, all times connected to this place, but no time could be passed to from here.
What?
I parsed that sentence badly. All times connected to this place, but no time could be passed to from here.
Okay. Sure.
In short, this place was just what they said it was, the underside of the chessboard. No, perhaps it would be most appropriate to call this the captured pile, where pieces that have left the game go.
Kinzo's just hanging out here.
Then, through the pitch-black world, a glow like a faint spotlight shone, and I didn't finish reading that line. And 5 corpses came into view.
The 5 pitiful corpses with their necks sliced open had been arranged neatly. Their eyelids were shut and their hands joined. The underside of a chessboard is sometimes another chessboard.
Yeah.
That's true. They're playing a new game now. Sometimes I had, growing up, one of those things. It was like a kit that had like 20 different classic board games in it. So you'd have like, there was like a chess/checkerboard, and on the other side of that they had like holes drilled for like cribbage and peg solitaire and stuff like that. Like a bunch of different games that took up less space than a chessboard. So maybe they're just doing that. They're on the underside of the chessboard. They're playing cribbage.
What are other games that would be good for them to play? I want to say they're playing Yahtzee now.
Yeah.
And they're playing Witch's Yahtzee.
Yeah, which is more fucked up.
Well, you know who is just referring to rolling a bunch of dice.
I do know.
That's what they're in
She's
now.
playing Witch's Yahtzee in a certain
Yeah,
in a
she's
certain
playing.
sense.
She was playing Witch's Yahtzee. That's what George and Jessica and the others are being subjected to right now. That.
Yeah. They're fine. Their eyelids were shut and their hands joined. Apparently even Gop had respect for the dead.
Oh my! There are 5 sacrifices for the first Twilight in this game. Not 6. Oh, it's you, teacher! I was worried about where you'd gone. The game has already reached the first Twilight, and as you see, the first victims have appeared. So it's finally time. I'm getting all excited. I see. That you that is here looks to be in high spirits.
Oh my god. That's why she was gone. She was hanging out with...
Oh.
She was hanging out with the other beardo.
Oh my god.
She's so... Oh! I died. I'm dead.
I've got high spirits and a captivating body. And in my charming disposition, you've got only my strong points.
For some reason, Virgilia praised Beato for being in high spirits. Though Beato was taken aback at such granny-like words coming out of Virgilia's mouth all of a sudden, she pounded her chest and answered.
I'm in pain.
Yeah.
I'm in so much pain. I completely forgot about this.
Yep. Virgilia had been absent often during this game. She might even have been absent when Battler solved the epitaph, as well as during the uproar that followed. Apparently, she had been absent for so many critical points that she didn't really understand much about what had happened so far in this game.
Right now, 5 corpses have appeared. As you can see, their necks have been slit.
George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, Genji. All 5 of them had had their necks sliced open by something sharp. The wound opened wider than their mouths, and made it feel as though they'd no longer need their mouths to breathe.
I see. So anyone looking at George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, or Genji's corpses could confirm at a glance that they are dead. Red? Well, there's no point in me holding out against you. That's right. At a glance, anyone could confirm that these corpses are dead. So it's absolutely impossible that they're just plain dead. Why did Leah use the red?
Who knows? However, she is always thinking of what's best for Milady. She probably has some idea in mind that will benefit her. But they'd hid the corpses here, specifically so that no one would be able to use the red. However, Ronaway was right. Virgilia always thought of Beatrice first. A slightly displeased expression rose to Gop's face, as she saw that the corpses she'd gone to such lengths to hide had now been confirmed dead in red. However, in the end, she remembered that she was only a guest and shrugged.
Why did you have Gop hide the corpses? As to that, since the epitaph has already been solved, this game of mine is different from usual.
I now have serving and protecting. That was such a weirdly structured sentence.
Yeah.
Protecting. Go. I need water.
Get water.
I need water.
How's everyone doing? Adrian's gonna be talking to himself for a while, so until he gets water.
I was like, Beatrice is actively hurting me right now.
Yeah. Suffering from this? Real and true. Real and true and understandable. Yeah, he's just been like passed out on the couch this whole time. She always does what's best for Beto. She always thinks of Beto first. God. Episode 5's kinda good. Has anyone noticed this?
Sorry about that, everyone.
How dare you?
I know we're going on break in like 10 minutes.
How dare you? I'll kill you.
Aww. Not again.
Just funny because I guess it's probably my current last place, but it's so fucking good. Oh, if I had to rank Umineko episodes, I don't think 5 would rank especially high, but it's just because the competition's so fucking stiff. This is probably, of the answer arcs, I think 5 is easily my least favorite, but that does not mean that it's not fucking amazing. It just means that 6 through 8 are that goddamn good. In my humble opinion.
Okay.
It's just because 6 and 7 are fucking unbeatable.
How would concealing their corpses protect Natsuhi?
We've more or less figured out what our opponent's moves will be. This is probably a trap meant to corner Nazi. Most likely they'll send through alibis for the first and trial and find them for everyone except her.
The first and final twilight. Last night, Natsuhi-sama was the first to leave the family conference, and then rested alone in her room. Unfortunately, she has no alibi whatsoever until the next morning.
We've already made Kinzo's existence impossible to deny. However, there is a single move remaining to our enemy that might cancel that out. I see. So they'll corner Natsuhi and make her confess that Kinzo doesn't exist. Indeed. The enemy is probably after something like that. By watching the movements of the pieces involved at the family conference, we quickly realized that Natsuhi was isolated. Notice the trap of theirs encountered with this move. The corpses disappear. Everyone has alibis and no one exists who could have moved them. Not only does this support the claim that a witch exists, it also throws doubt on whether there were actually corpses in the first place, just barely allowing Natsuhi to escape being a suspect.
In other words, it's possible for Natsuhi-sama to claim that the sacrifices of the first twilight were only playing dead.
You mean, even though many people confirmed their deaths without fail in the cousin room? Mere confirmation of facts doesn't even approach the red truth. No matter how much everyone claims to have truly witnessed their deaths, the red truth doesn't exist in the human world. Because the corpses don't exist! Natsuhi can discount their words as a mistake, some sort of trick, or she can say they were all lying. It's possible for her to do this over and over to buy time for herself.
In the human world, which lacks the red truth, perpetual check is a valid move.
An endless argument with both sides, both denying the other's claims. Not pretty.
True.
However, beauty is something to be sought only after victory. When those without victory seek it, it is not but poison.
Well, they do say might makes right. And even if I don't think it's beautiful, those Voyager witches will probably like it and say it isn't boring.
I see. I've managed to grasp the flow of this game. I imagine it will get quite nasty.
We're fully aware of that. And we already know that Nazi's probably about to be loaded into yet another trap.
A trap?
Indeed. Someone Lady Lambda Delta created who calls himself a man from 19 years ago has already threatened Natsuhi. She was ordered to go into a closet in a certain guest room in a few minutes at 1 o'clock p.m. and hide there. Kraus was taken hostage so Natsuhi can't resist.
I see. How relentless. Can you protect her?
Of course! After all, Natsuhi isn't the culprit. No matter how much she's treated as the culprit, both truth and phantoms are on our side. There's no way we'll lose.
Thank you for letting me get water.
Of course. Natsuhi threw her cup of tea to the ground in protest, expressing the anger that flowed throughout her entire body.
What do you mean by that? Are you saying you suspect me?
You told me you left before anyone else returned to your room and didn't leave that room until morning. However, if you cannot prove that, it doesn't count as an alibi.
Prove? How can I possibly do that?
It doesn't matter how. Objectively speaking, it'll all be fine as long as you prove it was impossible for you to commit the crime. Everyone else is cooperating. I want you to stop being so hostile and give me your alibi along with proof.
That's right. Almost the whole night is a blank space in time for Natsuhide-san. She might have left the conference saying she wanted to rest before us, then gone to the guest house and attacked George and the others. It is really hard to do Ava after Erika. I don't know why, but it is hard to transition between those voices.
I get it.
Please don't be such a fool. Why would I kill George-kun, and on top of that, my own daughter, Jessica?
Calm down. We're all equally suspicious. It's sad, but we all have to prove our innocence.
Yeah, we've been thinking frantically about how to prove our alibis for last night, so that we could clear up the suspicion against us.
I know you can't like being suspected, Natsuhi-san. If it frustrates you, then shouldn't your first priority be searching for some way to prove your own innocence?
The relatives spoke as though they were all under equal suspicion, but the mood about the place didn't feel so peaceful. Erika was still in the middle of confirming all of the facts, but except for Natsuhi, who was uncooperative when it came to proving alibis, everyone else had an alibi that was reasonably credible. Only Natsuhi, who claimed that even being suspected was an insult, was uncooperative with Erika, and her position began to grow more and more perilous. This parlor was no longer a place of comfort for Natsuhi, and the sound of the cup smashing had made that decisive.
That's ridiculous. Why must I be suspected when I've lost a daughter? You're maliciously trying to make me look like a culprit just because I went to bed early last night? I cannot stand this humiliation any further.
Oh, so what are you going to do about it? Show us some kind of alibi that proves your innocence. As if you could! Give me George back, murderer!
Stop it, Ava! Natsuhi-san, you're probably a bit tired too. Same goes for us, of course. Why don't we take it easy for now?
Seriously, we're a little too high-strung. Natsuhi, where are you going?
Searching for alibis of the culprit would truly be laughable at this point. When the typhoon passes and the police come, everything will be exposed to the light of day. There's no reason whatsoever for us to play at being detectives. Am I wrong, Erika-san?
Generally speaking, you're right. However, I do have the authority to do this.
Who gave her that authority? No one asked. It was an authority given by words of power from a higher world, so the pieces weren't even allowed to doubt it.
I'm leaving. I have no intention of going along with your pointless questioning before the police come. If you suspect me, feel free to do so. I'm counting on the police to clear away that suspicion.
It may be a bit late to mention this, but then again, I guess this happens every time anyway. As usual, the phone couldn't connect to the police. Natsuhi said the police would be coming, but that wasn't exactly true. Strictly speaking, the boat would come tomorrow, and they would use the radio on that boat to contact the police. Well, it's not like I'll let everyone live that long anyway.
That should have been Lambda.
It should have been. I didn't realize it till we were almost done anyway.
Natsui-san, it's dangerous to go alone. Perhaps it would be better if we all stayed here.
Why not let her? This might make for some very good proof. If Natsuhine-san gets killed in her own room, that'll be excellent proof of her innocence.
Quit it, Aneki. It's probably best if we all get a bit of rest. Our bodies won't last until tomorrow.
If we're all going to take a break, we still mustn't let our guards down, got it? We might not make it through the night, much less tomorrow.
Because as every Ushinomiya knows, the police are incredibly competent. Exactly! Listen, one thing about the cops in a story written by Rikishi is they're gonna get shit done and they're gonna find things out. Without fail.
And they aren't going to make anything worse.
No. Never. Natsuhi, if you return into your room, make sure you lock it tight. Close the windows and shutters too. Stay safe. I don't want to suspect anyone. And more than that, I don't want there to be any more victims.
Thank you, Battler-kun. And I'll return to my room. Goda, you're in charge now. I know this is a horrible situation, but see to it that our guests have everything they need.
Yes, madam. I shall do so. With everyone watching her, Natsuhi left the parlor. From their faces, she could tell that they were expecting the classic mystery pattern. That the first person to quarrel and leave the circle would become the next victim. Natsuhi couldn't disobey because of the threat against Kraus, who had been taken hostage. Very soon, it would be that promised time, 1 p.m. She was to hide for an hour in the closet of a specific guest room. It was easy to suspect that this bizarre order was a trap to select her as the next sacrifice. She thought of various ways to resist, but all methods would be useless against a culprit who had a hostage and was observing her from close by. So Natsuhi could do nothing but obediently follow that order, and then claim that she'd been forced to do this for her husband's safety. When the promised time had drawn near, Natsuhi had intentionally acted annoyed and smashed the cup on the ground to give her an excuse for slipping out of the parlor. At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be.
At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be, I cannot disobey now. I am now the one who carries the burden of the one-winged eagle. Now that my husband Kraus has been captured, I must protect it even if I have to crawl through the mud.
God.
Of course I am prepared to do so. I am Ushirumi and Natsuhi. Even if I am not permitted to wear the one-winged eagle on my clothes, Father gave me permission to bear it in my heart. I've managed to get this far by plausibly dashing away in a rage. So far, everything has gone well. Before my eyes to the doorknob of the specified guest room. However, I wonder if it's locked. Servants are normally ordered to lock any unused rooms. What will I do if it's locked? I dashed away from the others, pretending I was returning to my room. Hopping back and asking a servant to unlock this guest room would be obviously suspicious. If I can, I need to get this eerie hide-and-seek over without anyone noticing. That phone call from the one who claimed to be the man from 19 years ago. He said I would win if no one found out, but lose if anyone did find out. He said my husband would be released whether I won or lost. But as a person with a hostage taken against me, I'd rather not lose. I don't like it at all, but I have to go along with this game. When I softly gripped the doorknob, I could feel that it was unlocked. Did Shannon or Kumasawa forget to unlock it after cleaning? Or did that man unlock it in advance? That man couldn't be waiting for me in this room, could he? And then he'll... All about hide and seek may have been a mere excuse. I kept the fact that I was coming here secret and all the others think I'm resting in my room. If I were to be killed in this situation, I might create a new baffling murder case, like an extension of the one that occurred this morning. That might actually turn out for the better. Perhaps this is a good chance to confront the culprit directly.
Natsuhi had some experience with using a naginata, though only casually.
Holy shit.
Yeah!
I didn't remember that.
I think it's because of her upbringing.
I believe this about her.
I believe that that's not unusual for the family that she came from.
Mm-hmm.
Only casually, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Ava, she couldn't brag about being able to hold off any single ruffian indefinitely. My casual naginata, right. As opposed to, like, she doesn't have a formal naginata.
Mm-hmm.
As she was now, she had no realistic chance of challenging a man with malicious intent and winning.
Umineko if they let Natsuhi have a naginata.
True. It's just as long, but it is a lot weirder.
In episode 1, if she had a naginata instead of that gun, she would have won that duel with Beatrice.
Famously, knives in gunfights. I know a naginata is not a knife, but it's sort of, what is a spear but a long knife?
Listen. She would have been a much more powerful stance and state of mind.
So she would have just tanked it, is what you're saying?
I think she would have just handled it.
She would have intervened.
She would have been able to wave dash out of there. Listen, she was nerfed by being given a gun. She needed that naginata. She would have handled it.
Her mobility would have been better, yeah.
No one would have died in episode 1 if she had. If she had.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
But, listen, no one, after the first Twilight, after she got armed, no one more would have died.
Yeah.
She would have handled it.
She readied herself.
Yeah, she would have parried it.
She readied herself and slowly opened the door. She couldn't just stand around in the corridor and risk being seen by someone.
To be fair, she wouldn't be bringing a knife to a gunfight. She'd be bringing a knife to a magic fight.
I suppose that's true. Although she super was killed with a gun. I think we do have that.
Yeah, but like, as Beatrice claims, she reflected the bullet back at Natsuhi.
Uh-huh.
So...
Yeah.
So...
Where do naginatas rank against magic? It's weird because we have contradictory reports about guns and magic.
Yeah, but we naginatas, I think that's going to be a wild card.
Yeah.
Do you know how much magical girls love spears?
That's kind of true, yeah. Yeah, how does that figure?
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere inside the guest room.
Also, do we want to take our breaky?
Yes, actually, this would be a great time to do that. Let's take a break. Enjoy the soothing rain ambiance. Get yourselves a little treat and a drink.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Hi.
Sorry, that was a long one.
It wasn't horrendously long. I think it was like 15 minutes. That's within the bounds. I hope everyone had a wonderful break and got a snack and or a beverage. And now that we're all well rested, who's ready for Natsuhi to have just such a good time? Just a great time. You had to peel super glue off your hand?
Why?
Well, I imagine they were using super glue for something. Unless you put it on your hand on purpose, but super glue I would not put on my hand on purpose.
Maybe they're a freak.
Never. In our chat, shoe event got silly. That makes some sense, yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. Catastrophic shoe incident.
You might be a freak. Blue Truth has been denied. For now, I don't know you well enough. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude if I am. I'm very tired.
The atmosphere inside the guest room was frigid, and she could sense no trace of anyone waiting impatiently for her. All she could hear were the unsettling sounds of the wind and rain. At first, this seemed to prove that there was no one here to threaten her, but soon it only made an uneasy feeling rise up in her even more strongly than before. The closet was just off to the side of anyone entering the room. Lined up inside it was a set of hangers for coats. This closet, which had nothing hanging in it, was large enough for even an adult to hide in. She softly opened the closet. Of course, there was nothing inside. She would have to hide quietly in here for an hour. The room had a wooden floor, but something like a carpet had been laid in the closet. It seemed sitting down wouldn't be a problem. She had been sure someone would be waiting for her in this room, or that a strange letter would be lying in the closet. In the worst case, she had even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside there. We are a freak, but not for shoe/glue related reasons. Fair enough. In the worst case...
Okay, do we have anyone in chat who is not a freak in some way?
We're playing Umineko.
Yeah, exactly. I'm taking a poll. Do we have any non-freaks in chat? And by freak, I don't mean something specific. I just mean in general.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about people who are showing up to an Umineko stream. You're asking, there's a tautology here.
Yeah, but what if we have Normal Joe 86 in chat watching? And that's their username, and they're a normal guy.
My cat walked on the keyboard once. Oh, is your cat regular? There we go.
Is your cat normal? I thought all cats were kind of freaks inherently.
Wait, she's obsessed with feet. Never mind. Many cats.
Many such cases.
We're all being proclaimed normal. Exactly. See? And welcome back, Grace.
Grace, you cannot fight the freak allegations. I'm telling you this now.
Alas. Alas, we've seen how you're solving the epitaph.
I've seen you in action.
Respectfully.
No one does twisted logic like you. I say that with the most love in my heart.
Yeah. In the worst case, she had even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside there. However, none of these things she imagined turned out to be true. The only thing there was a cold guest room, and a lifeless closet that silently urged her to enter.
I'm so glad that the 19th man... I'm going 999 brain, I see.
Oh no!
it's like the 19th man. I'm so glad the man from man from 19 years ago was nice enough to Nazi to make sure there was a carpet in the lining the closet so she wouldn't hurt her ass bones sitting down, because I know she has no ass.
That's true. At least she has a relatively, like, the fabric of her skirts looks thick. Mm-hmm. So she has that going for her as far as, like, ass cushioning.
And he told me to hide in here for an hour. He's mocking me.
Natsuhi shrugged, turned around, then locked and chained the guest room door.
This way, no one will be able to get into this room. In other words, no one will be able to find me for the next hour. I win. A stupid game of hide and seek.
This surely must be a total victory in the hide-and-seek game against that mystery man. However, it was such an easy victory it made her feel uneasy. And won't even give her Candy Crush a whole hour.
Mm-hmm.
God, Natsuhi could fuck up some Candy Crush. Candy Crush would have fixed her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, but access to Candy Crush could have changed things. Normally, this would be against the rules of hide and seek. Even if she had won, wouldn't this displease the culprit? And now, everyone thought she had returned to her room. If they found a room with a chain set, that would make it an impossible closed room to them. Erica had dashed throughout the mansion to confirm alibis or something. If she noticed that the chain was set on this room, there would probably be an uproar that would end in them cutting the chain and searching the room. If that happened, Natsuhi would be found hiding in the closet right away. It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she'd been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. Mobile games that would make Natsuhi dissolve like an Alka-Seltzer. I do not have enough knowledge of weird mobile games. That is one area... I just play shitty puzzle games on my phone.
Do you think introducing Bellatra to Natsuhi would have fixed her?
I don't think introducing Bellatra to anyone could possibly fix them. I don't think there's a scenario where introducing Bellatra into someone's life
could have
makes it
fixed
better.
Jessica.
And I love
Jessica.
Bellatra.
But Jessica.
Perchance.
I was just thinking of Jessica trying to show Natsuhi Bellatra.
I'm about Jessica trying to explain any Joker to Natsuhi.
Why does the banana disappear?
Where did the banana go?
I just feel like Natsuhi would be like, this feels like improper, but would be excited that Jessica's actually talking with her, so she'd attempt to understand, but it just goes all right over her head because she doesn't know anything about poker.
Yeah. I feel like she might, like, justify it to herself to be like, well, there's math in it, so maybe she's getting some practice in with multiplication. It's, like she just kind of resigns herself to letting Jessica do that. Do you think Jessica was gambling? That is the one thing, is that if she doesn't know shit about poker, then she think it's a gambling game.
No, she'd scold her at first. I think Jessica could convince her otherwise. No, she couldn't. After a word from Krause, she would let it go. Jessica brings it up at dinner. Krause is like, learning poker will be good for the business world.
Yeah, he could say some shit like that, and, like, not so he wouldn't like it, but that would have to be the end of that conversation. Yeah, I can see that.
I can see it so perfectly in my mind.
Yeah. To be the head of the family, you've gotta be willing to gamble, that sort of shit.
Father always was always talking about gambling.
Yeah. Here's how Jessica playing Bellatra can still win. It's gonna take a little bit more than Bellatra.
But only a little bit more. Bellatra would help. Is what you're saying. It's how I'm choosing to interpret that statement.
It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she'd been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. If she did talk, she might endanger her husband. Thinking of it that way, setting the chain, no, even the lock, might be a bad idea. Natsuhi making Jessica stop because it's gambling and Krause hearing and getting addicted. Krause with a Bellatra addiction feels pretty real. That could happen. God. That's right. This room... Oh, Natsuhi again.
That's right. This room was unlocked when I came here. If it were to suddenly become locked, it's conceivable that it might catch someone's attention. It's better if I don't do anything unnecessary. That man only told me to hide. So in the end, I have no choice but to do what he says. I hate doing it, but I cannot disobey.
Kraus is the only Shinomiya Balatro could fix because it would keep him from actually wasting their money.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah.
After Cross starts playing it, Jessica would stop playing it because then it would be cringe.
Yeah, it would be lame. As soon as Kraus starts playing it and trying to, like, talk to her about it, she's like, this sucks, I think.
He's not even good at it.
No! I'd be awful at it.
He can't even beat green stakes.
He doesn't understand the concept of Joker synergy.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I have all of the rare Jokers. I have all rare Jokers. Why aren't I winning?
Yeah, he would go for, like, max rarity, because he's like, those are always the best investments. They always turn around. But he's got, like...
The one that... It's got the one that's, like... The rare Joker that's, like, you get more of a multiplier based on how many kings you have in your hand, and then he also has the legendary Joker that gains multipliers by destroying kings.
This motherfucker's got Pareidolia and Bus Stop.
Yeah.
I don't think either of I don't even remember the rarities of each of those, but
I think
that's
they're both
that's
uncommon.
the type of shit
I
he's
think
up to.
Pareidolia is rare and Bus Stop is uncommon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Pareidolia sounds like it would be rare.
I undid those two precious locks. Went to the dimly lit closet filled with the smell of old wood. I managed to close the door from the inside. I'm gonna do a normal voice.
That's fair.
Pitch black. Reminded me of when I was young, when I used to hide somewhere then surprise my mother. But that peaceful recollection wasn't enough to kill off my anxiety. It really is pitch black. From here, I won't even be able to check my watch to see if an hour has passed. I'll probably need to open the door a crack every once in a while to let enough light in for my watch. For now, I'll crouch down here. I thought about clutching my knees, but it hurt my back when I tried. Back pain!
She's so real.
I'm not as young as I used to be. Even though I was made to sit on the floor holding my knees in every PE class as a grade schooler, I now have to struggle just to sit down. Just crouching down here for an hour will probably hurt a lot. I can't believe I'll be hiding in the darkness for a full hour with nothing to hear except for the wind and rain.
Ironically, Natsuhi had made Jessica do the exact same thing in the past. She had done it when Jessica was a little girl to scold her for her persistent bad habits and teach her a lesson. She'd thought that making Jessica stay put in the darkness would sprout a desire to reflect on her mistakes, and that this way she would understand what she had done wrong.
It feels like I'm being made to do the same thing. That's the true purpose of this hide and seek. How naive of me. This must be my naivete, the hope that if their goal is to make me repent, nothing will happen here during this hour. Uncertainty and fear of that man's shadow are not what I need right now. Will someone suddenly come to this room, open this closet, and do something horrible to me now that I've come here in total secrecy as promised? That's what I should be worried about. I'm so glad that I brought a water bottle with me. The culprit, or one of his accomplices, is very close by. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to observe me so thoroughly. I don't want to think it, but it's highly likely that this culprit bought off one of the servants. The culprit had an eerie card with autumn written on it in my room. My personal room is always locked. That trick wouldn't have been possible without a key. And instead of believing that they obtained the key when the servants weren't looking, it's much more realistic to assume that one of the servants lent the culprit a hand. But how did they know that autumn is my favorite season? How unsettling.
The thought that this mystery man might be peeking into my heart sent goosebumps running across my whole body. It's true that I like autumn, but I've never said it out loud. I don't think there's ever been anyone ever who heard... I don't think anyone's ever heard me say it. If I asked even my husband what my favorite season is, he probably would be stumped for an answer. No. Just once I told a single person. That's right. Shannon. On an autumn day long ago, I happened to be in a good mood, and I mentioned that autumn was my favorite of the 4 seasons. So the culprit or one of the accomplices has to be Shannon. The fact that I like autumn can only be known by Shannon. In that case, this is clear proof that Shannon is involved. That card with autumn on it is proof.
I was gonna say, stumping Kraus about Natsuki is not hard. I'm like, yeah, Kraus is actually a terrible example of somebody who would know Natsuki and the things that she likes.
She could close her eyes and ask him what her eye color is, and he would falter, even though she is like a Japanese woman, a fully Japanese woman.
He'd have to think about it at least.
Mm-hmm.
It would take him uncomfortably long to answer.
Mm-hmm. Outrageous! Even though she's served the family for 10 years! I trembled and shook with rage. Didn't Kinzo once say that anger is the fastest sedative to cure fear and uncertainty? It's easy to tell the most fearful humans from within a crowd. They're always the first to get angry. I remember him telling me that. So I realized that this anger was a sign that I was actually frightened, and I tried my best to remain calm. However, this is a vital clue for turning things around.
Natsuki, did the real Kinzo tell you that, or did your mind Kinzo tell you that?
Don't worry about it. Shannon may not be reliable as a servant, but if she's an accomplice used by this mystery man, this might actually be convenient. A weak-willed girl. If I threaten her, she'll probably spill the name of the mastermind in an instant. I'll secretly tell the police about this. It might become a big clue towards arresting the culprit.
That card was probably meant to shock me and get me to do as he says. But he's actually dug his own grave.
Ooh.
Mmm.
Ooh. Natsuki can use the red.
She can think it.
I never told anyone except Shannon that I like autumn. This is unshakable proof that she's working with the culprit.
Though I once thought this time in the closet would crush me with uncertainty and uneasiness, it's actually given me the start of a counterattack. If I wasn't given this time in the darkness, I probably wouldn't have noticed this. I'm almost grateful to the culprit for making up this foolish game. My mood brightened. I still can't guarantee that my husband is safe, but I'll definitely get him back and force the culprit to face judgment. I clenched my fists tightly and further strengthened my resolve to avoid losing this fight at any cost.
Riddle, riddle, riddle.
Rattle, rattle.
Rattle, rattle. Rub, 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 rub. At that time, I heard the sudden sound of someone trying to force the locked door open. And my heart leapt. Oh! It was unlocked! The voice was Hideyoshi's. Can you please take narration
Sure.
for this little bit? Because Hideyoshi
Yeah.
is already very hard on me.
Yeah. I heard that quiet voice, as though he was talking to himself, coming from what was probably the hallway. Apparently he had thought it was locked and tried to unlock it, but it ended up locking the unlocked door instead. Once again, there was the sound of the lock turning, and now the door opened with a faint sound. I thought I was cooking so hard when this red came up. Was being stupid. Listen, likely thing to do in episode 5. Why is Hideyoshi-san in this room? Footsteps that sounded like his came in, And there was the sound of him closing and locking the
I
door
love how you
behind
can
him.
just see his arm.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, can you turn it to new art for a second? I want to see what it looks like for them.
I like that the filter is the same. No change to the filter they're using to represent the door.
It looks so much sillier because it's so clear that he's like facing directly forwards.
That's true. The arm is a little more ambiguous. There's a little bit more plausible deniability. Grace, you did have a really good answer to the autumn card.
I don't remember it.
I was like kind of mad that it wasn't it.
Mute, I want to hear it.
It was a great blue truth.
It was so good.
Anyway, then came what seemed to be the sound of him setting the chain. Don't tell me. Hideyoshi-san is the mastermind, or else an accomplice. Is he planning to do something to me in this room? It would take some time to unlock the door from this side, much less remove the chain. If Hideyoshi doesn't intend to let me escape from here, he won't give me enough time to undo the chain. In that case, if he opens the closet door and sees me crouching here pathetically, just what kind of fearsome words will he say? I don't want to be found. I don't want to be found. I beg you, pass right on by the closet door. Please keep going into the center of the room.
I thought Hideyoshi was going to talk more.
If you want to take it back, by all
Yeah, I'll
means.
do it. My head was so filled with a throbbing sound that it felt like I was about to explode, and I almost missed hearing his noisy footsteps. So I heard a clunking sound coming from the center of the room. I finally realized that he'd passed by the closet and was deeply relieved. Hi, Arm. Just in case. This weather, it's pretty much night out there anyway. As he whispered, he did something that made a clunking sound. He's probably closing the shutters on the windows. Just in case. In case I tried to escape out the window? No, that can't be it. That's right. When I left the parlor, everyone was talking about possibly taking a break. After all, several murders have occurred, and the weather's bad. There'd be nothing abnormal if someone chose to rest in a guest room here instead of returning to the guest house. In that case, locking up and closing the shutters to guarantee safety is probably the proper course of action to take. When he finished closing the shutters, there was a thunk, as though he'd flopped on the bed. Surprising how much of the situation could be grasped just by the sound. What's going on here? The man from 19 years ago planned this all out to put me in the same room as Hideyoshi-san? No, that probably isn't true. Probably planned on me hiding here, but Hideyoshi-san is coming to take a rest here must have been outside of the scope of his plan. Thinking about it that way, having him in the room might be odd, but it might also guarantee my own safety. Like his wife, Hideyoshi-san is the kind of person I can talk to. If Eva-san comes, things will probably get complicated. Maybe I should slip out of the closet now while he's still alone. Reveal everything to just him and ask for help. But if I do that, my husband might be killed. Until my husband is released, I shouldn't do anything rash. Should I go out and talk, or hide in here? Moaning from my headache and biting my lower lip, I resisted the urge to crawl out of here. And if I talk with Hideyoshi-san, I don't know where my husband is being held. I'm sure the traitor who's observing me is nearby. Just talking to him won't solve everything. I suspect that Shannon is the traitor, but there's no proof that Goda and the others aren't. It's useless. It's all useless. I guess living here and confessing is too dangerous after all. Eventually I heard a strange, sobbing voice. Whose voice was it? I strained my ears to hear that strange voice. was shocked to discover that it was Hideyoshi weeping. Hideyoshi, who had lost his only son, was finally able to shed tears and cry, now that he was all alone like this. Thinking that he needed to support Eva in her distress, he acted as though he alone was standing firm. However, he has as good as a right to cry as anyone. And now that he's found a place where no one can see his tears, he finally let himself do it. And I've lost my daughter. I haven't seen her corpse with my own eyes, so it still doesn't feel like she's dead. But the one who carried her off is the culprit, and he had some repulsive motive for doing it. Just thinking about it makes it feel as though my chest will tear itself apart. The reason I'm hiding in here now is that I'm thinking more about my still living husband than my dead daughter. But if I were given the chance, I'd be wailing at the top of my lungs too. However, I still cannot let myself do that. It isn't because the man of the 19 years ago told me to hide. It's because I'm the final head of the Ushirimiya family. It's been completely overshadowed by the recent uproar. But last night, Badler-kun found the hidden gold. He gained the head's ring from that mysterious envelope. That very, very end, when it's all over, I probably won't be able to prevent his ascension as the head. When everything regarding the distribution of the inheritance is revealed. The Ushirimiya family honor and glory passed down from father will plummet to the earth. So I am the final head. Badler-kun will probably inherit the remaining wealth of the Ushirimiya family. However, its history and honor will all end with my generation. Therefore, I am the final head. I must not cry. Not yet. Until I get my husband back and avenge my daughter, I will not be allowed to shed tears. In the closet, I silently hung my head as I listened to Hideyoshi-san's sobs. Who are you? Hey, go to new images again. I want to see how it looks again. Oh.
Kind of the same, yeah.
Same.
He's just smaller.
He's just smaller.
Natsuki in the closet. Welcome back, Nine. Natsuki in the closet to protect her husband.
Crosses out having gay sex.
Sure.
Gay sex is important in the business world.
With whom?
Potential investors.
I mean, right now.
Potential investors. My heart leapt. I heard a sound that must have been Hideyoshi-san. Probably been lying prostrate on the bed, bounding to his feet. Did he notice me? How did you get in here? What's that? Wait a sec! He was clearly in a struggle with someone.
I really liked that read of that Hideyoshi line, by the way.
It's just like, my throat has been hurt by this stream.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, if I do any more, I will hurt myself.
Would you like me to take narration?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Who on earth could it be? Oh, it doesn't matter who it is. It's probably the culprit, and they're probably trying to take Hideyoshi-san's life. Shouldn't I jump out of here and help him? If I can't help him, shouldn't I call for help? No, but if I do something like that, I'll be questioned about why I was hiding in here. However, if Hideyoshi-san gets killed like this... No, now isn't the time to be saying that. At this rate, he'll certainly be killed. I'll jump out of here and help him right now. But if I do even that, even if I can save Hideyoshi-san, I might be abandoning my husband's life. Hideyoshi-san's life and my husband's life. How sinful would it be to try to weigh those against each other? At that time, there was a loud sound as the door opened and the chain was pulled tight. Someone was trying to open the door despite the chain being set.
Dear, it's me. Could you open up?
Ava!
So true.
Dear? What's happening? Dear! Open up! Open up! Open up, dear! Someone!
She opened and closed the door. Nope, that's probably still gonna be Natsuhi.
She opened and closed the door over and over again with all her might, but of course she couldn't snap the chain. Ava-san called for help in a loud voice and raced through the hallway. By this time, the room had settled back into silence, and that earlier sense of Hideyoshi being in a noisy struggle had disappeared completely. What's going on here? So right now, I am in the same room as the murderer who killed Hideyoshi-san? In that case, the culprit should try to escape from the room as soon as possible. So why are they hiding in here? I haven't heard anything. Nothing that might have been the culprit who attacked Hideyoshi-san running away. No matter how much I strain my ears, I can't sense anyone in the room. In fact, it's so silent that it makes what happened just a second ago feel like an illusion. In other words, does this mean that the culprit is hiding his breath, standing just outside this closet, waiting for me to stumble out? I don't even know what I should be scared of anymore. I feel like I just melt away into the darkness of this closet. I mustn't remain in this room any longer. I get the feeling I have more to worry about than just for my personal safety. What should I do? I don't even know if it's a good idea to leave this closet. Eventually, the clamor of many rushing footsteps approach. I'll hold my breath and melt away into the darkness of the closet. You take this.
Yeah. Ava dashed back, bringing everyone with her. Goda was gripping some wire cutters to cut the chain with. After trying to open the door again and confirming that the chain was still set, she yelled through the crack in the door.
Dear! We're going to open this up! Cut it right now!
Yes! Goda stuck the large wire cutter, which looked like it could slice off a whole finger, through the crack of the door, and easily severed the chain. It is fucked up that Ava genuinely loves Hideyoshi. It's fucked up that they are, like, a good couple. Well, it's not good that they're together for anyone other than them. But that their relationship seems to be genuinely good is so fucked. Because you have to accept that, like, evil, shitty people are capable of love.
Dear!
As soon as it was severed, Ava pushed Goda aside and dashed in. The others tried to follow her, but they bumped into Ava, who had fallen to her knees, moaning. So even though they couldn't tell much of what was going on inside the room, they could tell by Ava's moans that they were too late. What the hell?
Dear! Dear! Dr. Nanjo! Look at my husband, quickly!
Nanjo?
I'll do it right now!
You've got to be kidding me. It's only been about 10 minutes since Uncle Hideyoshi went out saying he wanted to rest.
Is anyone in the bathroom?
No! There's no one here!
What could have happened? Oh!
Dear! Dear!
I'm afraid to say that there's nothing I can do.
Nanjo stood up, hanging his head
We
sadly.
got a notification.
We got a tip, but I'd like them to describe the body first.
Sure, yeah.
It was only natural.
It was only natural.
Because anyone, even if they weren't a doctor, would think that at a glance. Hideyoshi was lying face down on the bed, and stuck deep into his back
was something like a blade with an intricate demonic design on it. When Ava pulled it out with all her might, they could tell that it wasn't a blade, but some kind of stake, and its sharp tip had penetrated nearly 15 centimeters in. Okay, I think now we're getting to it. His corpse was found in a guest room on the first floor of the mansion. A demon stake had pierced through his back. The tip of it reached as far as his lungs. Because he was lying face down on the bed, it is unthinkable that this was a suicide. It had probably dug deep into the lungs. If it had been stuck in any harder, the tip might have even have pierced all the way through to the surface of his chest.
Didn't I tell you to wait for me? Why did you go on alone? Stupid, stupid, stupid!
Culprit probably waited for us to get careless and split up. That bastard! So he still hasn't had enough blood?
So he really is hiding somewhere in this mansion and coming after us?
Well, there's something strange here. The doors and the windows are completely sealed.
Stop making them talk to each other! Gabe?
They're doing it on
Gabe!
purpose now.
Gabe, Ryukishi!
He knew.
Ryukishi? I know you watch our streams, Ryukishi. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me, Ryukishi?
He can't keep getting away
Stop
with
doing
this.
this to me! I feel like whenever Canon has spoken to someone in this fucking arc,
In this episode, it's always been Kitty.
I fucking swear to God. We need to end the stream now.
No!
That's right. The shutters are all shut. The shuttered are all shuttered. And the door chain is all door chained until a second ago. What the fuck? Huh? I don't know what the fuck you're saying, Gavin. That's crazy shit. In that case, I have to go right back here instead of this room. Good night.
You can never tell the streams that we have drinks on because they're indistinguishable from the streams where Adrian is just a little tired.
Me being drunk and me being a little tired truly is.
You being a little tired is worse.
Yeah.
Maybe they threw the stake through the crack in the door.
Hideyoshi-san's bed is in a total blind spot from this crack.
They threw it like a dart.
Do we have a fucking shinobi in here?
They threw it like a dart and it went 15 centimeters into him.
We had a fucking ninja smoke bombed into here.
It's
that
a ninja
smoke bombed
mansion.
out. Yeah.
You couldn't even kill him with a gun.
This really is strange.
I love this kitty eye face.
It's like, what the fuck?
I love a lot of kitty eye faces, but this one's very good.
It's a closed room murder.
A closed room murder?
I'm sorry. Sorry I made her sound like that for that.
No, it felt appropriate. It's a bit too early to be sure about that.
That was my read as Shannon as Nazi trying to figure out if she's the culprit and hearing if she's acting a little bit too much.
Maybe you remove the ceiling in the bathroom and escape to the space above it, or maybe you can close the shutters from outside. Do they have a fucking drop ceiling in the bathroom?
I have simply disassembled the walls and then rebuilt them.
Do you guys live in a classroom from the 2000s?
No, it's not been said before because it's not been important to the narrative, but all of Umineko does take place in Minecraft. They simply took apart the wall and put the blocks back.
Yeah. Wow, tag your fucking spoilers, dude. They don't reveal that until episode 7.
The shutters. They didn't budge an inch from the outside. I just went and checked.
God, Umineko, but it's in the form of a deranged Minecraft let's play roleplay group. Umineko, but it's
Umineko if it was an SMP.
Erica. It's no wonder everything felt so quiet and relaxed. Erica wasn't there. Yeah! At some point, Erica had split from the group. Just now, she had finally arrived and poked her face in from the hallway. When she heard that a crime had occurred in this room, she had watched everyone rush towards the room, but circled around to the outer wall herself. And she had gone all by herself to check that the shutter was down on the window, that you couldn't do anything with it from the outside, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary.
Is the inside of the room just like usual?
There's no need to say it like that.
My deepest condolences.
Explode.
So, what's the situation inside the room?
The chain was set on the door, so he cut it and entered.
And all the windows have the shutters down. They're locked tight from the inside.
We do not need another Erica. I'm already Erica. Yeah.
What are they bickering about in there?
Ava was arguing with Nanjo about something. Apparently she wanted to carry the corpse to the parlor. Nanjo tried to calm her, saying that they should leave the crime scene as untouched as possible until the police came.
What happened to the other corpses? The culprit carried them off somewhere, right? It may be that the culprit isn't satisfied with just killing, but intends to do something with the corpses. So no way we're leaving my husband all alone here.
Ava does have a point. After all, the victims before now have been carried away after we were shown their terrible wounds. Erica-chan, you'd probably like to preserve the crime scene, but could you just let this one slide?
Do whatever you want. All I'm interested in is the fact that a closed room has appeared that's much more serious than Kinzo-san's study. I have no interest in corpses, so do as you please.
Battler's expression was clearly unhappy, but she ignored him completely.
Feel free to carry that corpse out any time. Or am I in the way?
Battler-san
was smelting cobblestone. He was the only one who could have tunneled in without a trace.
A creeper blew up my porch. I'm just patching it up. Erica backed away from the door to open a path. She showed no trace of any sadness for the dead. Her eyes simply blazed with thoughts of this closed-room murder that had appeared.
Now I'm thinking of the concept of doing... It's functionally just like a murder mystery dinner, but taking place in like a video game where you can play with people. That probably could be fun.
Mm-hmm. Cecil is unpleased.
What are the odds somebody has done something like that in like Final Fantasy?
I
Like
hope
a roleplay murder mystery dinner type shit.
I
That
hope
seems
it's-
like the sort of thing people would do.
if if it hasn't been done, I'll do it. Get on that free trial, join my murder mystery.
In any event,
Let's recreate Umineko. I've already made Sakutaro.
You have made Sakutaro in Final Fantasy XIV.
He's
that's
really good
true.
at killing things with an axe.
Yeah.
In any event, the great detective had given her permission. Ava and some others wrapped Hideyoshi up in the sheets, and Goda and Rudolph carried him out. The sheets were quickly stained red. It was so painful to see that Shannon and Kumasawa stripped the blanket. It was so painful to see that Shannon and Kumasawa stripped the blanket off the bed to further cover the corpse. Sorry, that garden pathed me a little bit. Hey, out of the way!
Yes, I am out of the way.
Let's go to the parlor.
Yes! Dear.
Listen up, everyone! From now on, we'll always move as a group. You must not let yourself be isolated.
The culprit attacked Genji. He probably got a master key. It's clear that even locking up will no longer make you safe.
What? Even the chain was set. How did they do it? It's impossible. The shutters in the chain were firmly set. Even with a master key, it'd be impossible to force your way into that room. Must have been Beatrice Sama's doing. Oh!
Kumasawa-san, why did you become Mario?
I love when you do that.
There's no way Beatrice-sama did this. The epitaph has been solved, so there shouldn't be any more reason to hold the ceremony.
Of course we can't understand it. This would be impossible for anyone except a witch.
Impossible for anyone except a witch, you say? Good. Has a nice ring to it.
Naruka-chan, are you listening? We've decided to stick together from now on. First, we're carrying Hideyoshi-san's corpse to the parlor. Can you hold off on playing detective until we get there?
When she heard the words playing detective, Erica grimaced visibly. Then everyone stumbled out and she took a single step into the now empty guest room, looked around, and burned that scene into her eyes. Erica claimed to have a photographic memory. If that was true, those few seconds were more than enough for her. Later on, she could sip black tea in the parlor while perusing the photograph of the scene inside her memory, in her mind palace, playing the part of an armchair detective. Bye, Grace! Have a good rest of your night!
I love you.
Happy International Women's Day, have a good one, may you crank it thrice, etc., etc. Then, suddenly, her eyes stopped on the closet off to the side.
Oh yeah, you gotta post on your Umineko Tumblr my second tower of Final Fantasy 14 I made.
Okay.
I'll send it.
Yeah, send him to me. A closet for hanging overcoats. If it was large enough to fit a coat on a hanger, a person should be able to hide in it. Slowly, Erica stretched her hand out towards the closet. Erica's shoulder was grabbed roughly from behind. Let's go, Miss Detective. Didn't you ever learn how to stick together on school field trips?
Well, whenever I go traveling, someone always dies.
Hey, what do you think you're doing, brats? Come quickly. Rudolph told them to hurry. After clicking her tongue and glaring at the closet, Erica followed Battler. I always do this on a goddamn scene transition. It can never be in the middle of a page. Erica followed Battler back to the parlor for the time being. The sound of their footsteps finally faded.
Sorry, I was distracted by the sound of Sissel.
Yeah, Sissel is making some sort of noise.
A time of terror when I feared that even the dripping of the cold sweat covering my cheeks might be noticed had finally ended. My hand that couldn't stop trembling, I slowly opened the closet door and dashed out into the hallway. It's okay. No one's found me. Still, it's a good thing they didn't lock the door. If they had, I probably would have been able to lock it behind me after I'd left, and they'd find that suspicious. Anyway, I should leave this place. Then I'll return to my room and pretend I was sleeping the whole time. Yes, if I don't get back soon, a new murder has occurred. They'll probably try to tell me about it. They'll probably do it shortly after they carry Hideyoshi-san's corpse back to the parlor. I can get around a phone call by saying I was asleep and didn't notice, but if they come knocking directly, that'll be bad. To get back quickly before they try to force their way in. Whether I should run all out noisily, hide my footsteps, and walk in secret, or walk around normally as though nothing has happened. At the very least, it'll be bad if I bump into them on their way back to the parlor. I'll head to my room at a quick pace without being noticed by anyone. To pass through the hallway to the lobby. I go up the big staircase in the lobby. My room is just a little bit.
Who the fuck?
You know who it is.
I don't! Is it the Grink?
I'm 90% sure it's the Grink.
That's true. Not a lot of people address her as Natsuhi-san.
Natsuhi-san.
Okay. Just as she was about to go up the large staircase, Natsuhi heard Erika call out to her, and was so surprised that she visibly jumped.
I was just about to go and tell you the news.
Thank you very much. Did something happen?
Just now, Natsuhi-san, you were climbing the stairs, right? Your room is upstairs, isn't it?
Erika coldly pointed out this strange fact. Natsuhi cursed her bad luck.
I couldn't sleep, so I was going to return to the parlor. But I wasn't sure whether I'd locked my room or not, so I was about to head back. I'm a worrier, so this thing happens a lot. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that sort of thing does happen a lot. It's a common quirk among people who aren't confident in their memory. Couldn't be me.
Normally, since Erika was clearly making fun of her, Natsuhi might have looked annoyed. However, right now, Natsuhi was extremely relieved to hear Erika admit that this sort of thing happened a lot.
Are you by yourself, Erika-san?
I thought I'd investigate that guest room.
Guest room?
Yep. The situation's gotten pretty serious, hasn't it? And investigating the scene of the crime is my right.
Erika's probing gaze peered deep into Natsuhi's eyes. She could tell. Erika already suspected Natsuhi. Judging by the subtle nuance in her
words, she must be planning to make me slip up and reveal that I know about the crime about with Hideyoshi, when I supposedly hadn't been told about it yet.
Natsuhi played dumb and asked what had happened again.
Is something wrong?
No, it's nothing. This is just a repeat of the first crime, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Again, you were in your room. And again, you can't prove your alibi, can you?
I don't know what you mean. To turn it around, can you prove that I wasn't in my room?
Ah, that. Then let's take this one step at a time. Please worry about your lock later. I have something vitally important to discuss with everyone.
I will come back after I check my lock. Please get started without me.
Hideyoshi-san has been killed. We'll be talking about that.
What?
She had planned on using the need to check her lock as an excuse to escape to her own room, after which she would claim to have a sudden headache and stay in bed the rest of the time. However, now that she had been informed of Hideyoshi's murder, it would be clearly suspicious to postpone that and escape to her room. She was already under suspicion just because she had been heading up the stairs to the second floor. She couldn't afford to do anything else suspicious. Natsuhi gave up and headed for the parlor as Erika had urged her to do. When she opened the door to the parlor, Ava's sobs poured out, and everyone glanced at Natsuhi with grave faces. Those gazes almost made it look as though they suspected Natsuhi. It was now painfully apparent to Natsuhi. This must have been what that man was after. It was a trap to create a baffling closed-room mystery, and try to frame her for it. However, she couldn't have resisted. She couldn't sacrifice her husband's life.
Well, it's true I hid in the closet, that's all I did. Definitely haven't committed murder. Might be extremely suspicious, but I'm not the culprit. Most importantly, I'm not under suspicion yet.
Natsuhi calling out sick to the murder mystery.
I'll tell the police everything. I'll have to endure it until then. I'm sure one of the servants is a traitor. Even in a situation like this, if I mention my husband being held hostage, the culprit will hear and might use it as an excuse to kill him.
Natsui-san has just come back. Now that we're all here, I have something very important to discuss with you all.
Something very important.
Yes, it's very important. I'd like to lay out everything in front of you all, starting with the first crime.
And please do with just the others. I think we should leave this sort of thing to the police. I'm not interested.
Since I have it all laid out, this is a very important thing to discuss. Neither you nor anyone else has the right to refuse.
What?
Erika used her detective's authority to proclaim the start of an assembly.
Emergency meeting.
None of the pieces could disobey. Praying that she wouldn't become the topic of conversation, Natsuhi reluctantly sat on the sofa as she'd been urged to.
Oh, sorry. Could you close that door for me?
Yes!
Shannon and Cannon closed the door. Since it had been decided a short while ago to lock all doors and windows carefully, Cannon locked it. That lock, which existed to protect the safety of this room, felt like a lock on a prison cell to Natsuhi, one that would hold her in place and prevent any escape. Natsuhi still hadn't noticed. Though Erika had gone into the corridor to check the crime scene in Hideyoshi's room, her goal had changed. In other words, from Erika's point of view, the sound of that lock was truly...
Checkmate.
Erika said that suddenly. Berncastle said that suddenly.
Ooh, fast. Wow, so you figured out the culprit already? You've barely gone into any of the crimes, right? You could have just let me kill a few more and gathered a few clues yourself.
Okay, Lambda, gather all the pieces. Now we're getting to the most interesting part. Let's both enjoy it to the fullest.
Well, let's see. Why don't you show me what you've got?
To think she'd lay down the challenge without waiting for the game to set at 2400. What a hasty person, that Lady Berncastle.
It is quite an early challenge. To think that she's already managed to obtain a winning hand at this stage.
Normally you can win by just claiming that a witch exists. But with Nazi and Kinzo, we've got a lot we need to protect this time. Sounds like this'll be a fight. This fight'll be a pain. It's no problem at all. I won't let them do as they please with my golden island any longer. Bring it on, Lady Berncastle, Furuta Erika.
In the Golden Land, the endless rain continued to fall. Battler was nowhere to be seen. It would very soon reach the time that Battler had joined in on the 5th game, and control of the pieces would be passed on to Battler. In other words, he would only be officially added to the game now, in this final stage, where Berncastle had pinpointed the culprit. So he had left the Arbor a short while ago. Now, the only ones in sight were Virgilia, who continued to knit silently, and Beidou, who just sat there blankly amidst the smell of her black tea, not even putting the cup to her lips. Virgilia stopped knitting for a moment, and looked out across the vast golden rose garden that extended as far as the eye could see.
I believe it's safe to say that at least in the game over who the culprit is, Battler has gained such a strength that he will never surrender again. By the 4th game, you had sent him all of your messages. In other words, at this time, Battler-kun is capable of realizing the truth at any moment.
You could have saved them, Mr. Police. I gave you all the clues.
However, he is still soft in some ways. So, even if the games continue like this 100 times, he won't solve it for all eternity. He'll just wander forever like someone trying to find the bluebird. And that is you, Beatrice. It's the same for you. Even if this game continues hundreds more times, you'll never reach the answer you seek for all eternity. Berncastle will abuse this game without a doubt. Lambda Delta will also churn this game about with the utmost urgent arrogance. At a glance, that may be humiliating and appear to you and Battler as though the game has been stolen from you. However, that is something the two of you need right now. To end Battler's naive softness. To end your hesitation.
And that's why you called the two of them here. To end the eternal torture between you. These two will either bring you victory or defeat. But no matter how it goes, that result has already been filled with compassion. You should understand that as well by now.
Virgilia faced Beato, whom she had come to adore as a daughter, with cold eyes that she must not have shown often. It was like the gaze of a mother who, instead of scolding, silently urges their child to recognize their mistake.
Beatrice, how long do you intend to stay there? Neither alive nor dead. Not rising up to heaven nor falling into hell. There on the peak of Mount Purgatory. I am Virgilia. I have guided him through Purgatory and brought him to you at its peak. And you are Beatrice. You must choose whether to take his hand and rise up into heaven, or grab him and fall into hell. Did you know that the discord called Purgatory, which lies in the gap between heaven and hell, is sometimes more torturous than even hell itself?
Purgatory has a Discord?
No wonder it's more torturous.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it would be pretty bad.
On the gates of hell, it is written that you must abandon all hope. A human without hope can accept their suffering and give up. However, the residents of Purgatory have hope. A hope of possibly reaching heaven, a hope that cannot be abandoned. And it tortures them. Even in the depths of hell, no greater torture device exists than the single pin known as hope. Fly from the cliffs of Purgatory. Take with you the regrets caused by your fleeting, fragile, foolish hopes and open up Pandora's box. Are you scared? Scared of opening the box?
Beato was silent, but with a single tear, she nodded slightly.
Is the cat in the box alive or dead? The time has now come to check. If the cat is dead, quickly hold a funeral for it and have it rise to heaven. If the cat is alive, quickly feed it and give it all of your affection. Whether it is alive or dead, your cat box eternally desecrates the cat. The key to the box that you were afraid to open has been brought to you by those two. Beatrice, it's time for you to die now. I hope that your heart is stopped by the hand of the person you desire.
Man. Clock's getting big. Clock's getting real big.
Now, I know this would be ending really early, but I feel like this is a really narratively satisfying place to end the stream for the night.
That's true.
And the next scene is gonna be fucking big, I think.
Yes, I do think we are... I do think
Big,
we're...
large, huge.
Yeah. We may call it an early stream here for the sake of... It just keeps being where the good stopping points are, and I don't think there's going to be good stopping points
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry
about this. Literally don't
right
even
now.
worry about all this. It's fine and normal. Yeah, we can call it here for the evening. Thank you all for joining us as always.
It's been lovely to have you again, as always. So excited for shit to continue to be so normal and for Natsuhi to continue to have a normal and good time, I'm sure. Well, Battler's jumping into the game, so it'll be fine and cool, because he's gonna help.
He's got this.
He's got this. He can clutch this. Well, what a lovely Fishy Aroma Friday it's been. Thank you all for hanging out.
Now, sorry for this for the short stream. I'm fatigued.
Yeah, that's another good reason to call it, because
And this is a perfect stopping point.
Yes, because it's gonna take a lot of energy to get us through the next section, so...
Big McLarge huge.
Big McLarge huge indeed. It's so regular. But yeah, we should be... I can't think of any reasons why we wouldn't be back next week, so unless I say otherwise, assume next week. We'll be back with more, and it's gonna stay regular. But until then, my dear friends, have a good one, guys. Happy International Women's Day.
And may you crank it thrice.
See you again, and may you crank it thrice.